have been at that meeting
That's
to be able
true,
to participate.
yeah.
So we're sort of going to
Okay. And the assistant superintendent's a non-voting member.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure the public understands that we don't have persons who could weigh in on those minutes. So I'm, Kanam McKenzie, I'm going to say yes as well.
And Sadie was
And then
here.
Sadie, I
Yes.
believe, is our returning student. Perfect. All right, and Casey Fiore.
Abstain.
Okay, perfect. All right, so that is the roll, so we will accept our minutes into the record. So back to Ms. Brown. Thank
Okay,
you.
sorry about that. Moving on, we're going to talk about student life updates from our students, and I would like to start with Sadie, if you'd like to share student life from the beginning of the year.
For sure. Hi, everyone. I hope you all had an amazing summer. This year is exciting for everybody, but especially the class of 2026, as we're now entering our senior year. There aren't many updates from the high school just because it is the beginning of the year, but I can speak for the 12th graders when I say that virtual day at the high school went very well. The instructions were very clear. It went very smoothly. We just finished filling out our forms regarding teacher recommendation letters and got to send those out to our teachers. We also are getting used to a new schedule at the high school with short blocks every day. It's a new 40-minute block, similar to advisories, but you have a more structured time with a teacher you wouldn't typically have that day, which gives students more hands-on time in the classroom on a day that they wouldn't usually see that teacher. We also just got announced the fall play this year. It's Pride and Prejudice. And fall sports are in full swing at the high school with the football team playing at Gloucester last Friday. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And then we also have our new 8th grade representatives, if you would like to come up and share your information and updates from the middle school. Pull up a chair. Just hit the button, yep, perfect.
Hello, my name is Henry. Henry Weller. I'm in 8th grade at Beverly Middle School. I feel it's an honor to be chosen to be part of the subcommittee. I really appreciate the CISL. I'll just say a few things about me. I like all my subjects in school, especially civics. Thank you to Mr. Fiore. My family is also bilingual. I can speak German fluently, and I go to German school every Saturday. As well as when I was in 3rd grade, I spent a year in German, speaking German with my family, my friends there, and living day-to-day life. I also hope that being on the subcommittee will give me some opportunity to share all the exciting things that are happening at BMS and to help inform conversations about how to make things even better. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Victoria Dela Cruz. I'm on 8 Hale, and also it is an honor for me to be here today. And some things about myself: I have been part of the All-City Jazz Band. I'm in strings, and music is just like a very important thing to me. And I'm glad that at this school it's also very important. And so far, the school year has been pretty peaceful. Although sometimes the schedules can be hard to click, I still think that I enjoy all the classes that I'm in and all the subjects that are being taught. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hello, my name is Tyler, and I'm excited to update you about the start of school. Since it is the start of school year, we're all trying to get back into the swing of things. In civics, we are learning about the regions of the U.S. and where an ideal place would be to host the Olympics. In science, we are learning about the elements of the periodic table. In band, we are preparing to play music with the high school band at the football game in October. In cross country, our practices started this week and our first meet is tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Thank all of you for coming tonight. We look forward to listening to you each month, sharing your experiences. So the next item on our agenda is the summer professional development, and I'm going to let's skip through here a little bit.
Did we have any other student updates, or are we good? No other one?
No, I don't believe so.
No?
think
Okay,
that's it.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, to look at the professional development that went on during the summer, we offered a graduate class with Miss Montevecchi in Playful Learning course. And she's going to be here, but she's going to be a little late, so we're going to switch out of order a little bit, and we will talk. We'll come back to this. We also had 18 teachers participate in landmark courses and professional workshops. And this is a great opportunity for our teachers every year. They have wonderful offerings, and you can see the number of participants in the variety of courses: executive functioning, building foundation to help all learners, supporting students' reading, phonemic awareness to fluency, language-based learning disabilities, strategies for success, instruction for instructing Ls with learning disabilities, and written expression, scaffolded strategies for beginning writers. And you can see by the titles of these courses that they're wonderful courses. The teachers take time out of their summer to go to these courses and enhance their instruction for the classroom. So we're always very appreciative of the work that they put in, and I look forward to being able to see this work in action in their classes this year. And so we had 18 participants, and we have support from the BevEd Foundation as well as the Cummings Grant for these classes and workshops. So we're very thankful and proud of our teachers for the hard work that they do, and on behalf of our students. The next part of professional learning that we're going to talk about, or summer programming, what happened this summer, is the Mayor's Summer Literacy Program. And this year, the leadership of that changed to Maggie and Abby Berger. They are sisters that are special ed teachers, amazing special ed teachers in our district, one at Cove and one at North Beverly, and they were in charge of the instructional portion of it. As well as Lorigan Sudak, who is the Director of Childcare, and a longer title, but I know Director of Childcare for the YMCA, that is integral in bringing this program together and working on that. So I'm going to ask them. I'd like the 8th graders, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate that. And the Bergers are going to I will be your Vanna, and you can tell me next, and I can switch ahead for you. So we haven't reported on the Mayor's Literacy Program in a while, many years. So we wanted to circle back around and see how that program is going and how the students are and their readiness for this year.
All right, so thank you all for having us tonight. We had the pleasure of running the Mayor's Summer Literacy Program. As Erin said, Lauren Sudak helped us out, and Owen Fisher was our camp director. Some other key personnel that we had on staff with us was our school adjustment counselor, Kelly Beltoff, our school nurse, Katie Tobine, the custodial staff, Frank Morrissey, and our floating sub, Sue Gervinus. We had 80 students attend the program. The district coaches worked with the teachers to identify students who would mostly benefit from additional literacy support throughout the summer. An added benefit of the program was students had access to daily breakfast and lunch, as well as access to transportation to and from Hannah School if necessary. We also partnered with Copper Dog Books, who provided each classroom with a weekly book that aligned with our camp themes. So we had Wacky Week, Secret Agent Week, Boston Sports Week, Olympics Week, and Lights, Camera, Action Week. At the end of each week, every student was able to take the book home to share with their families. Here is what the literacy portion of the day looked like. So at 8:30, students came in for breakfast and then went to morning meeting in their classrooms. At 9:20, they had whole group Heggerty, which is our phonemic awareness curriculum. At 9:30, they typically participated in reading centers, which included a writing center, a Lexia center, and a word game center. At 10:45, they had a short snack in recess. At 10:55, they did whole group foundations, which is a phonics and spelling curriculum. At 11:25, they did an interactive read aloud with the weekly book from Copper Dog Books. And then at 12 o'clock, they went to lunch. After lunch, the students transitioned to the YMCA with the teacher assistants. for their summer camp experience. Some of the activities included swimming, arts and crafts, music, sports, and adventure. We had 2 rising first grade classrooms. The red classroom was led by Ariana Morris with the help of paraprofessional Sue Capozzi and teacher assistant McCartney Smith. The yellow classroom was led by Andres Perez with help from paraprofessional Janet Doig and teacher assistant Mia Bellotti. We also had 2 rising second grade classrooms. Our blue group was led by Jenny Kelly. Our paraprofessional was Amelia Broadbine, and our teacher assistant, who went to the Y also after the literacy portion, was Sydney Lorraine. And then our green group, the lead teacher was Trevor Harwood, paraprofessional Antonia Davenport, and our teacher assistant was Jasenia Rodriguez. Lastly, we had 1 rising third grade classroom. The purple classroom was led by Emily Dawson with the help of paraprofessional Kristen McCormick and teacher assistant Samantha Sprisler. So a lot of familiar staff from Beverly Public Schools and some, I think, just graduated in our freshmen in college, maybe sophomores now. Sophomores now. So here's some data from each individual classroom displaying growth from week 1 to week 5. We are going to focus on the grade level as a whole. So here's the yellow classroom. The next slide is red, but then that one is rising 1 as a whole. So classroom teachers completed Dibble's progress monitoring during weeks 1, 3, and 5, and then the writing assessments week 1 and 5. When assessing nonsense words, there was a 26% increase for correct letter sounds and a 23% increase for words read correctly. When assessing phoneme seg, there was a 59% increase, which was the largest for first grade. And then when assessing word reading fluency, there was a 31% increase. Writing was also assessed using the grade level wit and wisdom rubrics, and there was a 6% increase in first grade.
Would you mind just talking a little bit about what those data points are? So, speaking about correct letter sounds, what does that mean? Nonsense words, and then phoneme segmentation, so people will understand.
Yeah, so the Dibbles assessment, it presents them with a word on a page. A nonsense word. A nonsense word, and they are to tap out the sounds like k, at, which are the correct letter sounds, and then the words read correctly is when they blend it, so cat. So in the younger grades, we do rely on recoding, so they'll tap it out k, at, cat, but as they get older, we want to see them just blending cat. And then for phoneme seg. Phoneme seg for the younger kids, you give them a word, I would say bat, and the kid would say b-at. They have to chop the word up. And then word reading fluency is just those hard words that they can't tap out. So like words they have to see a lot of times to be able to know, like because or again, words you can't sound out.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know why this is not moving forward. I am stuck. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so moving on to second grade, rising second grade. Here is green groups data from week 1 to week 5, and we'll look at them as a whole in just a second. This is blue groups data from week 1 to week 5. And here is rising second grades data as a whole. So when assessing nonsense word fluency, there was a 16% increase in correct letter sounds and a 20% increase in words read correctly. When assessing phoneme segmentation fluency, there was a 55% increase, the largest for rising 2. When assessing word reading fluency, there was a 17% increase. And finally, when assessing writing, there was an 87% increase, again using the grade level wit and wisdom rubric. Finally, we have the data from our rising third grade classroom. There was only 1 rising third grade classroom, and when assessing nonsense word fluency, there was a 42% increase in correct letter sounds and a 48% increase in words read correctly. And then for word reading fluency, there was a 30% increase. And for writing, there was a 71% increase, the largest relative gain. So these rising third graders were rocking their writing. Not only did this program prevent summer learning loss, but fostered measurable growth in students' literacy skills. We just want to say, like, thank you to everyone. None of this would have been possible without the dedication, time, support from Mayor Cahill and his team. We also wanted to say thank you to Christina, the nutrition director, for providing us with breakfast and lunch menus for the families, and Dana, the director of transportation. And then a huge thank you to the YMCA, Lorgan, and Hannah School for housing us all summer.
Great, thank you so much. I want to thank you for all your effort and work. It was your first year doing
Yeah.
it, and I'm sure that's a little bit of a challenge, getting used to it and running the program, but you can see the gains that students made, which just helps them as they come into this new year. I mean, those are impressive gains in a 5-week period, so I think it speaks to the instruction that was going on, and I know the families that are involved in it really enjoy their kids are able to participate in both aspects of the program, which makes it fun for students, all around. So I don't know if the committee has any questions?
I forget, are students chosen for this, or can any student sign up?
Yeah, so the coaches collaborate and look at Dibble scores, and they work with teachers to determine which kids would benefit the most from it. So I think this year the teachers, after we did a first round and then we did a second round, I think overall they got to pick like 3 students from their classroom, and then 2 to 3 maybe, and then not all of the families respond or answer, but we did do a good job of trying to hunt them down. But yeah, so they are chosen by their reading coach and teachers in the classroom.
And do they have to spend the whole day, or can they leave after noon?
No, so they can leave. We recommend they get picked up if they're leaving and not going to the camp side of things, to get picked up at 12:30 after lunch. But they don't have to go to the camp side of things.
That's an option. We
Probably like a little more than half did it. Yeah. One kid was really nervous to go, and the teacher assistant that went with him from literacy to the camp, convinced him throughout the program to build his confidence to be able to go. So he ended up going towards the end of the program, which was really cool.
What was a venture camp? I was interested in that.
It was like archery, and we
have an adventure course on site, so that Project Adventure has built. So they come in and they do high ropes and low ropes and archery.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great
The
for
blast.
kids.
Sorry. I apologize.
Mr. Fiore.
I was just curious, is there like data collected on how sort of this program, the children who are in this program translates to progress that they make in the following school year?
Yeah, so that's our job this fall. Once we get the scores from the coaches, and this fall we'll analyze, and we already have some recommendations and things we're going to figure out for curriculum for next year.
Hopefully.
Next year. Yeah. So.
Ms. Abel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to follow on with Ms. Robinson's question about the number of participants, and I understand you said there was a first round and a second round. Do we feel that enough information was provided to caregivers to understand the benefits of the program, or do you have any anecdotal reason why people might decline or not answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think so it was a email from Lorgan, and most parents responded, and the teachers were really supposed to initiate that response. I do know, I think some of them ended up going to spam, or what parents said. But we did try, on our data sheet, when a parent didn't respond, me or her followed up with a phone call. And a lot of the times, families were going on summer vacation, and it's 5 weeks. So if you miss 1 or 2, that's, a big portion of the day or the program. So we really promote trying to make it all 5 weeks, or giving another student the opportunity.
Thank you for that extra information. It's helpful.
There are no other questions. I had a quick question.
Yeah.
It sounds like, so there is a selection process. What would you say in terms of total numbers of students who participated? So there were several per classroom?
Yeah, we had 80 in total
Oh,
come
okay.
to the program. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we referred maybe 90 or 100. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good response rate.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
That's yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming tonight and sharing your information. And now we're going to, Gabrielle said she was here, Miss Montevecchi. Do we see her? There she is. All right, we have her team too. So I'm going to back up in the slides a little bit to that section. So Gabrielle's going to share about the summer course that they provided this summer for our teachers, 10 of our teachers, on playful learning, which we've heard a little bit about last year. You shared with FNF in terms of the Playful Learning Grant and money that we got for that, but we're excited to have you all here tonight. Thank you for coming.
To the microphone. Good evening. I am joined tonight by two of my Hannah teachers who participated in the class, Cassie Clancy, who teaches grade 1, and Brianna Sucharowitz, who teaches grade 2 at Hannah. And Cassie joined the cohort of teachers in the Playful Learning Grant this past year, and Brianna is joining us in the cohort this year. So we're glad to have both of them in this class. So just a little refresher for everybody. I got the chance to speak to CISL last year about what the Playful Learning Institute is all about. We're really excited to be participating in this competitive grant through DESE in collaboration with the Boston Public Schools and Project Zero through Harvard's Graduate School of Education. And we are now moving into year 3 of this competitive grant and ever expanding the number of classes participating in playful learning strategies for deeper learning. And what we wanted to do this year in designing this class, my goal was to be able to broaden the scope to allow teachers who are not directly working in the grant with the pilot to have the chance to learn more about the practices. Something that was really important to me in designing the course is that it would be open to teachers across the district in grades K through 5. And we have a number of middle school teachers participating in the course as well. So I'm really excited about that span. And the middle school teachers are hungry to invest in these playful learning practices. And I'm really excited to get their feedback as the school year rolls out and they put these practices in place. So here are some slides. I shared with you some of this last year. What playful learning is not just open-ended play, but a universal learning strategy that supports equal access across cultures and abilities, which focuses on engaging historically marginalized student populations. And for me, that was my real draw to begin the grant writing process, thinking about how we're engaging all learners. Playful learning promotes natural pro-social learning and allows student-led choices and exploration through play that promotes and supports really high engagement, natural curiosity through a knowledge-based curriculum. This fits beautifully, you heard me talk last year, with our Wit and Wisdom curriculum across the district. So these are the playful learning indicators. Just a side note for those of you who may want to research this a little bit more. These are the indicators for the state of Massachusetts. Now, the research is going on globally on the impact of playful learning practices, and every culture has different language for the big bucket areas of empowering, meaningful, and joyful. So when they call together and take student data and teacher feedback, these are the words that come up most often. So I'll just read off a little bit about empowering. It feels like ownership, it feels like agency, it feels like students being seen and valued, they're making independent choices in the classroom, a sense of belonging is developed, a deep pride in their work, a sense of freedom and confidence. And it looks like students having voice and choice, making decisions about what learning outcomes are going to look like. For example, what a product of a learning outcome is going to look like. Will they create something that is digital? Will they create a piece of artwork? Will they create a piece of writing? Taking some risks, co-constructing ideas together, taking on different roles, and building routines in the classroom that celebrate active and inclusive participation. All right, so this is the fun stuff. So this summer, our teachers met in July and in August. And again, this was a 1-credit course that I designed with the guidance from Fitchburg State. I had a really enjoyable time designing the course because Fitchburg really does give such a rich set of tools and rubrics for me in the design process. So I want to share that feedback with you all. Having worked previously with Framingham State, I appreciate all the tools that were given to me by Fitchburg State. Here are some of the portraits that our teachers created in the first session, and they were asked to think about themselves as a playful teacher. What does that look like? What are they feeling? What are they thinking? All right, here they are. You might know these people, Laura Newton and Maria Lampert. Getting playful. Summertime is a great time to really think differently about your teaching, right? We can think about moving away from what we did in the previous year and turning the corner. In summer, we're all feeling a little bit more playful. So we really focused this summer on the theory and how it moves into practice. And in our course, we're focusing on the playful learning practices that overarch the work, which is empowering learners to lead their own learning, building a culture of collaborative learning, promoting experimentation and risk-taking, and encouraging imaginative thinking. And finally, we welcome all emotions that are generated through play. And that fits so beautifully with our responsive classroom approach. Then we get into the literal strategies, and this is the how, okay? How do we take this, what we know is good for kids and put it into practice? These are the tools. So we've been investing in learning about what storytelling and story acting is, creating studios and centers, and what's different about the studios and centers model in playful learning, and I'm sure we touched upon this last year, students get to decide where and when and how long they're going to each teacher-designed center. It's not that lockstep, ring the bell, time to move design, which is quite different and sometimes requires a little bit of letting go on the part of the teacher who's got that nice, neat centers rotation model going. We think about developing a community meeting that looks like our responsive classroom morning meeting, using text talk to go deeper with fiction and nonfiction books, and then the thinking and feedback routine, which is getting students to put their own work out there and ask for peer feedback, something that all of us as adults are still working on. So I brought Brianna and Cassie along with me tonight to share why they chose to take the course and how they're putting this work into practice now.
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie Clancy. I'm a first grade teacher, as Gabrielle said, at Hannah Elementary School. I often say I was a little late to the Playful Learning Party. I joined the cohort in the middle of last year. I learned many of the practices and tools when I did join in, and I was very eager to dive right in and implement this with my students. I was able to implement studios within my Wit and Wisdom modules a handful of times last year. The students absolutely loved it. Many had shared at the end of the school year it was their favorite part of first grade. So I had some goals to dip my toes into the other practices. So when I saw that Mrs. Montevecchi was teaching a playful learning class for the district, I was really excited. I wanted to spend some time collaborating with colleagues around playful learning because I truly find the best work is when we've done it together. Providing kids with playful learning opportunities has opened the doors for student voice and choice. It has helped students feel more confident and comfortable sharing their work with each other. And it's helped me become a better teacher. I find a lot of value in play that I understand now that I really underestimated before. My goal is to add in studios more consistently with Wit and Wisdom, as well as bring in storytelling, story acting, and explore play more in math. So I look forward to continuing our work together and providing more opportunities for students to learn through play.
Alrighty, hello, my name is Brianna Sucharowitz and I teach second grade at Hannah. I chose to take the Playful Learning course after hearing about the experiences of many of my colleagues that participated in Playful Learning over the past 2 years. Taking the course with Gabrielle has made me realize that incorporating play into the classroom isn't as overwhelming as it might sound. Playful learning allows all students to show their learning in a way that feels good to them and lets them dive deeper into topics in a way that is both meaningful and fun. Last spring, I got to observe Playful Learning Studios a couple times and observed not only high engagement among students, but increased confidence and positive feedback from them as well. As this year progresses, I plan to incorporate playful learning within my own classroom, most likely during Wit and Wisdom, with high hopes of watching my students learn while being engaged and feeling joyful.
So the course was designed to have 3 sessions in the summer to do the theoretical planning and learn the strategies, and then the next sessions coming up, 2 in September and 1 in October, will be where the rubber kind of hits the road and teachers are bringing the practice to their classroom as they get to meet their new students and implement the lessons and units that they're designing right now. So I can't wait to see how it's going. And my particular area of interest is the high school level, the middle school level, but ready to bring to the high school all the way. I mean, we all need playful learning. So we're looking forward to continuing to expand the work.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. Anyone have any questions? No questions? Thank you very much. Thank you for coming
Thank
tonight
you
and
so
sharing your
much.
experience. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead again through what we've seen here. Apologize if I'm making anyone sick going through these quickly. The next piece of the summer professional development was our leadership retreat. That was on August 13th and 14th. It was a wonderful time that we had as a leadership team. We spent quite a bit of time relationship building with Dr. Cushing as he was new to the team, and team building experiences overall for our team to grow together as we move forward into this year. We did quite a bit on evaluation training, as well as working on opening day messages, and also discussion and work on instructional strategies for this year that the principals were working on and will be working on with their staff this year. So that was our leadership retreat. And then we had school opening, and last year we had a lot of speakers. This year we had one keynote, great speaker, Dr. Cushing, the first day. Everyone really, I think, enjoyed his introduction and welcome to the whole staff. He was full of energy and does not need a microphone, he told us. Halfway through, we determined he doesn't need that anymore because he's full of energy. So that was a great morning. I think it kicked off the day, the first 2 professional days for the staff very well. Positive start to the year. And then they went back to their buildings for the rest of that day, and on the second day to do some building-based training and then classroom preparation so that the teachers had time. They do a wonderful job preparing their classrooms for the first day for students. And then the first day for students, most of the students was on Tuesday, and then some of them came, kindergarten and preschool and so forth, came a little later in the week. And Dr. Cushing and I were able to get around to most of the schools and have a great time welcoming the students and seeing the kids and staff, and it was just wonderful to see everybody. The kids were excited. Most of them were excited, some of them a little anxious, but I can tell you by traffic, there were a lot of people dropping off those mornings. It was hard for us to get around town quickly those days, but it was a lot of fun, and it appears the students are really now, this is our first full week settling into school and getting back into the swing of things. So it was a great opening to school so far this year. The next thing on our agenda was just to review some policies, and so those policies went out with the agenda. The first one being on basic instructional program. And so I'll toss that back to you, Dr. McKenzie, if you want to just review that, and then we can move forward with the next policy.
Sure thing. I don't know if we want to open it at all, but I can give you a basic. So this is for our first review here. Basic instructional program. State law requires that schools shall give instruction and training in orthography, reading, writing, the English language and grammar, geography, arithmetic, drawing, music, the history and constitution of the United States, the duties of citizenship, health education, physical education, and good behavior. And so that's the quoted language, and it goes on to talk about the importance of American history and civics, including specifics like the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, etc., and talks about what some of those fundamental skills would be to equip students. I don't see that we have any changes that are being proposed, so this is a matter of reviewing this particular policy. So that was policy IHA in our instructional program.
And Dr. McKenzie, there is not a corresponding MASC policy. That is why these two are alone. There's not a corresponding policy for MASC.
Yeah, so this one has source MASC, then there's a legal reference, and then there's a cross-reference with our school district wellness program. But I don't see any suggested changes to the policy. All right. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, so
President
I do believe that there is an MASC policy, but there's no updates or changes to it, because I believe this was sourced originally from an old version from MASC.
Right.
Because it does make reference to Mass General Law and such.
Right, but no changes, like you said.
Right, it hasn't been updated. Could I offer some reflection?
Sure.
Okay. When we're looking at our instructional policies, this is sort of deep into the school committee policy manual. It's probably approaching pages 275, 300, somewhere towards the end. And I think, highlighting it at this meeting, this is just our first reading, and we can, at the committee of the whole or the regular school committee, unpack some of this that's told to us. And I'm just thinking in particular for IHAI, which is the occupational education, that our district has done a lot to ready our students for college or career, and that it might be worth our time to really read this aloud even. And I don't know if I can do that today. We have a little bit of time.
So we just read the first one. Do you want to read IHA?
I think it's important because I think our policies often are items that, kind of live in this large document. We reference them, and I think they're important, and they're important for us to reflect upon as we do our work.
Great. So that's the next policy. So if you'd like to read that, we can
Sure.
hear from you. Yeah.
This is a recognition. So the school committee recognizes that students in pre-kindergarten through grade 12 should be afforded the opportunity to be informed about the world of work, be aware of the many vocations available to them, develop a respect for the dignity of work, and be allowed the opportunity to develop an understanding regarding the technical, consumer, occupational, recreational, and cultural aspects of industry and technology. They should also be afforded the opportunity to develop skills related to such aspects through creative problem solving and experiences. And again, this is based on a sample policy provided to our community through our association with Massachusetts Association of School Committees. I think these reviews afford us an opportunity as a community to consider these words and to make them our own. And I would commit to our next meeting, if we're doing a second reading here in the subcommittee rather than just passing these on, to offer some additions to these policies.
All right. Well, thank you for that reflection. And similar to the earlier policy, there is no recommended changes that we have received or any updates. So I believe what you're saying, President Abel, is as we're looking at it again for the second time, is there anything we want to add or consider changing or updating? So with that, thank you for helping us with those first readings of these two policies. I will turn it back over to you, Ms. Brown.
Turn that up. The last thing on our agenda today was to talk about, it should have said survey of interest and topics. It just said survey, but as a committee, looking at what are the required topics and what are some other topics we can talk about this year. So I just put together a little bit of a calendar for us in terms of required things that we need to look at, from professional development update that we just did in the school opening, but to October competency determination review. And I think that's going to be important because DESE put out guidelines for us that we needed to develop last year for competency determination, now that the MCAS is not required for graduation. And so there have been some new expectations put out at the end of the summer to all of us that need to be immediately looked at and determined and process through the committee. So those are things that we'll be bringing next month in October. Dr. Cushing has already got a team together, a part of a team starting to look at the requirements because they affect students this year and beyond. So that's something important that we need to look at, and we will be looking at initially in October, probably again in other meetings as well. In November, we'll look at our MCAS assessment reports and what the student scores look like across the district and school scores. In December, we usually have a student performance, which is always nice, but there's some opportunity there to look at other topics. January, we look at typically the BHS program of studies, and in February, the BMS program of studies. And then in March, there's some opportunity there to look at some other topics. And along the way, there's opportunity to look at other topics as well, just some kind of outlining the main pieces of information that we need to meet on and discuss. In April, the handbook reviews, school improvement plans in May, and then summer professional development and kind of a wrap-up of the year in June. So those are a list of the required topics, and obviously there's some opportunities within there to find out about curriculum, instruction, and student life. And so this is exciting. I put up some examples. I will send you a survey, the committee a survey. These will be on there as well as, there are so many different things we can talk about, but these are just some examples of things we might want to look at in these three main areas. So in curriculum, looking at our multilingual learner curriculum and have an update on that. This is the second year of implementation, secondary level, and so that's an opportunity there. Certainly, like I said, we have the competency determination information. That will be information that we'll need to talk about. World languages, adoption and pilot updates. The high school had information, resources, a curriculum adoption, and so what are the updates with their progress in that adoption, as well as potential pilots at the middle school level in world language, and the same for health curriculum, both at the high school and at the middle school and elementary school. So kind of thinking about what are the updates with that? What does that look like? How has that gone? What are the positive results and what are the struggles? Because anytime you implement any new curriculum, there are both. There are a lot of positives that come with them, but there are also the challenges that come with them. Certainly, we've learned that over the last few years. When you look at the opportunity we had with ESSER funding to purchase curriculum, I have had the opportunity to be in the district for 20 years and know that there were many, many years that we did not have the opportunity to purchase curriculum for many years. And so we used a lot of open resource, free resources that some of them are excellent, but this is certainly gave us the opportunity to implement some curriculum, some new curriculum, and review it and look at how we're doing with that curriculum. In terms of instruction, BHS and BMS are working on a discourse strategy implementation. So looking at, planned purposeful discourse in the classroom. And so, finding out more information on that and what that kind of looks like. It's always nice to hear from teachers, what does that look like in the class? How do we see the results of that for students? Special education, often in the instructional realm, you're looking at what is specially designed instruction. Not everyone understands that piece, so that's a topic that we might want to, dive into a little bit and hear about and really think about what is specially designed instruction for our special education students in the classroom. Assessments across the district, certainly looking at what are our assessments, pre-K through 12 and beyond, and what are they, how often are they given, and what's our review cycle on assessments, and what do they look like, and how do we develop them? What does that look like over the course of time? Finally, elementary instructional strategies, whether it's comprehension strategies, the science of reading strategies, engagement strategies, there's a plethora of opportunity there to bring instructional strategies to this committee and share that. I think it was great having the playful learning piece here tonight where they could talk about specific things they learned and they were going to go back and implement in their classroom. I think that was, just what we're kind of asking for, what that would look like. And then, maybe they can come back and share how it went and what did that look like for their students, because I think that's really important too. How did it go? Repetition in terms of implementation of strategies until you really feel like the results of that. So what does that look like? And then student life, here are some examples in terms of, the Salem program and Essex Tech After Dark experiences. I brought the students that were attending the Salem program last year to the F&F committee just to share a little bit about that and how we're spending resources in that way. And it was just a great experience. So, having that opportunity to potentially bring students here and really talk about their experiences, I think the student voice and sharing what's going on for them is great. Our REACH internship, a lot of us know about, but really kind of thinking about maybe finding some postgrads that can talk about what that experience was for them and how it related now to them in the future in their in either their college experience or their job experience. And then clubs and activities, thinking about that. We offer so many clubs and activities for students. I think, we don't often hear about them and what's going on in them and the enjoyment that they get from those activities and clubs. So I would, that's another area that might be of interest that we could have students share. BMS student culture, house system. I know that was implemented a few years ago, but that's an opportunity to talk about, what is that system? Not everyone understands it. And then elementary engagement experiences. Again, we have amazing PTOs that bring in wonderful experiences for students in the classroom. So having students share what those experiences are like, as well as the programming that we bring in, whether it's field trips or different opportunities that the students have, or it's teachers that do complete room transformations and unit transformations in their building and sharing that experience. Because we always said, for students, we want students running in the building, not running out at the end of the day because they can't wait to get out. We want them running in. And the same goes for staff. So how do we do that and share that experience with everyone? So that's a little bit about student life. And these are just examples of some things that we can touch on, but I'll send a survey to all of the committee members, and there'll be opportunities for you to add certainly what your priorities or what you would like to hear from this year as well. So I'm excited to hear and share and so forth.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments, Ms. Abel?
Yes, I wanted some clarity on the statement you made about DESE and the competency determination. It sounded like we have a little bit of runway for that, but I wanted to have clarity for our class of 2026, our class of 2027. Is there a competency determination for us handing out diplomas this year, next year? I just don't want to miss the deadlines.
Yeah, so DESE in early August informed us and all other districts across the Commonwealth that the competency determination processes that all districts worked on last year were for last year and last year alone, and that we now have to update, redo. They said very clearly that we had the summer, even though it was on or about August 6th when this was made known to us. And so, yes, we will be working on essentially a new competency determination. The quote from the webinar was, "Yep, this is something entirely new." That is a direct quote. So we will be bringing that to you again. There really is no runway because this must be approved by December 31st. As school committees go, as far as approving such changes, there requires multiple readings, therefore multiple meetings. So our hope is to have our leadership team work completed by by October 31st, so that we are able to present. Also, DESE has made clear that these, as well as all districts' graduation requirements, which have never been published in one spot, will now be published in one spot. So DESE was also clear to make sure that for graduation requirements and competency determinations, which needs to be completed by the end of sophomore year for the competency determination, to essentially not slouch, because people will comparison shop. So they will all be published in one location. They will all be searchable, and they will all be expected to be submitted to DESE by December 31st of 2025. We have worked to build an internal team inclusive of myself, the high school principal, guidance director, curriculum directors, and we will also be reaching out for other members as well. But to initially kick off the work, we really wanted to organize, and we have not waited on this whatsoever. So anything that I missed or that you'd like to add?
No, I think that's great.
Thank you for setting the expectation of the October 31st internal deadline with the school committee deadline no later than December 31st. I have noticed that some of our colleagues in other school committees have taken this very rapidly up as part of their regular business, so I want to make sure that we weren't missing the boat. Okay. But I have a second question.
Just sorry to interrupt, but if the committee does feel that we need to accelerate, we can work on that. But we felt like this was an appropriate timeline, given the work that needs to be done prior to presenting to the committee, and then leaving enough meeting space for debate. Also, just so everyone is clear, this competency determination will now allow past graduates who have not achieved a diploma the opportunity to demonstrate competency at the 2026 level. All right, so in theory, a past student from 2005 who may or may not have attained a diploma but attained a certificate of achievement will be able to enter and prove their competency determination under the 2026 standards that we establish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my second question was something I know we have to do, or we ought do by October, and that is to review our October 1 numbers. Is that coming to curriculum instruction and student life, or are we bringing that to committee of the whole or regular school committee?
Yeah, I defer to the committee on that.
Okay.
And those numbers will probably be presented after October 1, just because.
Right, the timing of our meeting, we generally have this meeting the second Wednesday. So I was just trying to figure out if that's a committee of the whole topic for October, but that's generally when we discuss and as we start to prepare for next year's budget. Okay. I thank you for all of these, and I also thank you for stating there will be an opportunity for free form or additional ideas from this body.
Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. Will you provide us with material so that we can read about these new competencies? Because I think it would be helpful to go into that, really being informed and ready to talk about it.
Yeah, I'll also be sure to share. Donna, please make a note so I don't forget. I will also be happy to share the webinar. Unfortunately, a lot of really rich and important information was in the Q&A portion, and they stopped recording for that portion.
Thank you. We are almost at time. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I want to echo thanking you for allowing us to think about future topics and also weighing in to shape some of the areas that could be priorities for the committee. I also want to thank our new students who did such an amazing job coming tonight. Thank you so much for your work. Thank you for our returning student as well. So with that, unless there are any other things, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, so I will call the roll. Karen Robinson,
Yes.
Rachel Abel,
Yes.
Aaron Brown, Derek Brennan,
Yes.
Casey Fiore,
Yes.
and then our students I know have returned to their seats, but thank you. So Patricia Spinks. Yes. Ryan Redmond.
Yes.
Sorry, Ryan. Again, thank you to our students. I'm Kanan Mackenzie DeFranza. Yes, and is there anyone else? So Aaron, I know you all don't exactly have the same right. Oh, Katie, I'm sorry, I didn't see you over there. Katie?
Yes.
Yes, and I thought I called Katie's name, but thank you. Okay, Aaron Brown and Dr. Cushing, I know you don't have the same voting, but if you agree, we can adjourn. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is September 10th, 2025, and it is a regular school committee meeting of the Beverly Public Schools School Committee. I just want to welcome you and thank our friends at BevCam for providing real-time access via a streaming channel as well as a broadcast. This is technically a hybrid meeting, although the school committee is all here in person, as is our lovely audience tonight. So thank you so much. The only people joining remotely so far are our presenter, Dr. Cushing, and BevCam, who is using the feed for broadcasting. Just want to mention that this process began in 2021, June 16th, in fact, with the Chapter 20 Acts of 2021, which were twice extended, then further extended to allow local bodies to use remote meeting methods to allow for safe public access. We also in Beverly have permission for remote participation so long as the chair and quorum are physically present when the acts expire. If you are interested in finding our meetings real time, you can find us on channel 6 and high definition channel 1073. And if ever there's an opportunity to address the body, we will provide a link to the meeting. If you are not able to join us here in person, there is a sign-up sheet today because one of our items is a open forum for resident voice. I'm going to quickly do a roll call for those members that are present so that we can record that in our meeting minutes, and then I will do the Pledge of Allegiance with some help from a member. Going around the room, we are joined by Dr. Jeffrey Silva.
Here.
Member Ms. Lorinda Visnick.
Here.
Member Ms. Kim Coelho.
Here.
And member Ms. Karen Robinson.
Here.
Sorry, I'm trying to write and think. And we are joined by Dr. Ken Mackenzie DeFranza.
Here.
And I'm Rachel Abel. We do anticipate the mayor joining us in just a moment. We are also joined by our new superintendent, Dr. Peter Cushing.
Here.
Our executive assistant and recording secretary, Donna Bergeron. Here. We are also joined by a number of members of our leadership. We have Miss Bethany Splansky. Here. Miss Emma Puglisi. Here. Miss Erin Brown.
Here.
Dr. Andre Morgan.
Here.
And Jody Elder. And I'm going to need to ask for an assist next to you.
Cindy Tamor.
Cindy Tamor, you are on our agenda this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, I think that covers our attendance and who am I missing? Oh, our student rep, Delia Gauker. Thank you so much for joining us for a third year. You must like this. Thank you. Okay, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I know I pick on Delia a lot, but maybe you've done it at school already this week, so why don't you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Delia. Sorry to put you on the spot again. And thank you, Mayor Cahill, for joining us this evening. We're just kicking off. For our next agenda item, we want to recognize the dedicated service of Christina DeCourcy. Unfortunately, it was a conflict this evening. She's not able to join us, but the school committee extends its gratitude for the efforts coordinating our staff for many years. So thank you. And next, Delia Gauker, if you would give our student representative report to the school committee.
Thank you. The high school began school on Tuesday, September 2nd with an in-person day for all freshmen and remote day for upperclassmen. During their remote day, upperclassmen finalized their summer reading, learned about their classes for the year, and completed assignments for the guidance department. Prior to the start of the school year, fall sports teams held tryouts and preseason practices. The marching band also came in a week early for band camp. In addition, 179 freshmen attended freshman orientation led by 54 upperclassmen. They participated in a building scavenger hunt and short presentations about opportunities to get involved at BHS. Clubs are hosting informational meetings to gain new members. Students can access this through the morning announcements or through the club list shared by guidance. The high school has a new schedule this year, incorporating a 40-minute advisory block 2 times a week, which is the same as last year, but also a 40-minute shortened class block 3 times a week. Regular classes are now 75 minutes to accommodate the additional block and extra time added to the school day. On September 18th, there'll be an open house for all families, including a college planning information session for senior families. On September 30th, there'll be a college fair for all students during advisory, and students also have the opportunity to sign up to meet with representatives from college in small groups in the guidance office. And then also in guidance, sophomores and juniors are currently registering to take the PSAT, and seniors are registering to take the SAT in October. And then tomorrow, to commemorate 9/11, VHS will have our annual Do a Good Deed Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next on the agenda, the committee will approve its meeting records from June 11th. I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Were there any edits or corrections that a member would like to bring forward? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting record? It's unanimous, 7-0.
Madam President,
Yes.
I would like to ask our body, as well as you, if we would entertain a change in the agenda order.
What is, I think you'd have to make a motion for the change.
I'd like to make a motion that we discuss the resolution before the open forum.
I'll second that.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table. I'm just going to find that agenda item by Ms. Visnick, seconded by
It's
Jeffrey
item
Silva.
8B.
Okay, 8B. And you would like to entertain that before the next item, which is open forum for resident voice.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions before I call a vote? All those in favor of changing the agenda order? 6. I'm going to abstain since I kind of like the order, but okay. It seems that we will be moving that forward. Would you like to entertain that right at this moment?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would actually call on Ms. Visnick to introduce the resolution that she asked the chair to put on the agenda this evening.
Thank you. I think for the people who were not at our recent retreat, which included BevCam, but it was an open meeting, right? I started a conversation there about each of us having our own different lived experiences and each of us having our own truths. I also mentioned, I continue to bang a drum that our community needs to heal. And I feel strongly that part of the reason why we need to heal is because people are not feeling heard. And their own truth is being perhaps, or maybe they perceive their truth as being discarded versus being validated. And how that comes through in our processes and in our budget in particular is, I believe, the source of a tremendous amount of heartache. And so as a way to try to validate everyone's truths, as a way to try to honor that each person and their perspective is in fact valued, I bring forward this resolution. I've worked with Dr. Cushing on it. I don't think there's anything in it that's wildly different than what I talked about at the retreat. So my fellow school committee members, I certainly am open, just as every other thing that we bring to this table, to suggestions for edits, improvements. But I do think it is an important piece to our collective attempt to move forward. I believe it's what we ask our students to do. Try to improve, try to be objective, and when you know better, do better. And that is not meant to be an insult by any stretch of the imagination to any of our administrators, current or past. It's really meant to be an acknowledgement that each of us has our own perception of how things are going. And in order to come to, we have like disconnects on those different perceptions. And in order for us to move forward, I feel strongly that we need to have the conversation and try to connect some of those disconnects, or at least get them closer together. And I believe the therefore be it resolved portion of this resolution attempts to do that. I think I will leave my introduction there.
Thank you for that introduction. And for the benefit of members or members of our audience that don't have the packet in advance, would you mind reading the resolution aloud, or I can do it if that's...
Right after a sip.
Okay, thank you.
Can we put it on
There
the
is not
screen?
enough caffeine in the world.
I don't have the ability to put it on the screen. I don't know if Dr. Cushing, you could do that for us. The resolution is entitled, "A Resolution to Identify and Support Struggling Learners and Students with Disabilities." When you're ready, Ms. Visnick.
Whereas the Beverly Public Schools seek to maximize academic achievement and personal growth to enable all students to compete within the global economy. And whereas the Beverly Public Schools educators and leadership understand that early identification and instructional support are critical to long-term student success for struggling learners. Open paren. Struggling learners in this context are defined as those students who are struggling to make progress and meet state and local academic standards as benchmarks as established, And whereas the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education conducted a tiered focus monitoring review in 2021 and focused on special education, and in 2024 focused on civil rights. And whereas both the tiered focus monitoring, reviews found no systemic special education compliance issues in the Beverly Public Schools. And whereas the district has been found to be fully compliant regarding implementation of special education regulations through the tiered focus monitoring, but there persists a perception and concerns from the community concerning the ability to identify and support struggling learners prior to special education identification. And whereas the Beverly School Committee, the Beverly Leadership Team, and the Beverly teachers and paraprofessionals establish annual goals designed to exceed mere compliance. And whereas the Beverly School Committee recognizes and honors the lived experiences of each family that may be suffering the pains associated with a struggling learner. And whereas the Beverly School Committee recognizes and respects the expertise of the Beverly Public School educators, leaders, and paraprofessionals. And I have a duplicate word in that sentence. Whereas the Beverly School Committee recognizes the values of early identification of both struggling learners and students with disabilities, therefore be it resolved the Beverly School Committee requests the district leadership to develop a scope of services sufficient to adequately conduct a comprehensive review of the process to identify struggling learners and students with disabilities, early literacy, and other programs that provide support for students across the grade spans with a particular focus on the earliest grade levels, and to publish a request for proposal and report back to the body the proposed scope and cost. Be it further resolved that the district leadership develop a scope of services sufficient to adequately conduct a comprehensive review of service delivery for students with disabilities to be part of the aforementioned request for proposal.
Thank you so much, Ms. Visnick. I saw Dr. Silva's hand first, and then Ms. Robinson.
I'd just like to ask a question about how Beverly Connects, and I guess what is now, whatever it's called now, Beverly Connects, how that plays into this. And this is something that that is something that we've had for the past 3-4 years. Has that not been sufficient? Has that been lacking? Is this being asked because there's gaps in implementation or execution of findings from that?
Am I allowed to respond, Madam President?
This is an open discussion.
Okay. Well, I think that question could be posed to our superintendent if he were not so new. So I don't mean to imply that at all, no.
Okay.
I think that that program is wonderful. I'm a big fan of that program. I think this is above and beyond that. It's our Beverly Connects do a lot of work in, if you think about a spectrum, more on the social services side, right? Do I have a family that is food insecure? Do I have a family that has, no vehicle to get their child to school on time? It's not necessarily about their actual low-level academic. Maybe there's a little tied in there.
I thought there was an assessment of learning assessment and needs assessment as part of the evaluation.
At a high level, I believe that's true. I don't believe it is within their purview, and someone anywhere
someone
back
here
over there
comment
could
on
help
that?
me out, that it's not in their purview to say, you need to get on an IEP.
So in terms of that, they do identify students, a range of academic difficulty students may be having, but it's not specific. It doesn't drill down specifically. It just, through the whole class review, they get reports, and the schools have reports on students who might be struggling in different areas, but it doesn't drill down as deep as special education or the identification process for special education services. Thank you.
Well, I saw Ms. Robinson. We'll go to Ms. Robinson, Dr. McKenzie, and we can go back to Dr. Silva.
Okay, so I took a look at the resolution, and I just have some thoughts and comments that I prepared. So I just wanted to thank Ms. Visnick and Dr. Cushing for the work you put into writing this resolution. I appreciate the time and effort, and I know it was written with very good intentions. But honestly, I just don't think it's quite there yet. And on paper, it sounds nice, but within the resolution is the assumption that our main problem is just perception, that the community is somehow misunderstanding what's happening in our schools. And because of that, it comes across as, and I, with nothing against what you're saying, it comes across as a little bit condescending, especially to the people who are in the thick of all of this. The reality is we have got some serious ongoing problems with special education service delivery. Pretending that this is about rumors does a real disservice to the students who live with not getting what they need every single day. I've been in education for 29 years, and not once have I ever seen teachers make up stories about services not being delivered. I don't really know what they would get out of that. Actually, they would get absolutely nothing out of that. This is tough to say, but in fact, I think speaking up usually makes the job harder. And here it has been said that if you see something and say something, well, it might very well lead to retaliation. And yet teachers and parents keep raising questions and concerns anyway, and that alone should tell us just how real these issues are. And yes, DESE may have found us technically compliant, but compliance is not the same as actually delivering what's written in a child's IEP. Families know when grid services aren't happening. They know when paraprofessionals are stretched too thin. They know when co-teaching is promised, but the special educator is juggling multiple classrooms. They know when a team doesn't have a special education teacher in place after the school year has already begun. And if we're scrambling to backfill data or clear up paperwork that may satisfy a state review, that means that we're just checking off boxes. We're not, it doesn't mean that kids are being serviced. Okay, and it's also worth noting that DESE itself, and I looked this up, was recently audited and failed. And one of the findings was that DESE was not effective at executing these reviews. So that in and of itself raises real questions about how much we trust, how much trust can we really place in them of their evaluation of us? So, and when those reviews don't include input from the educators delivering services every day, we know we're not getting the full story. So While early identification of disabilities is clearly important, once those needs are identified, staff is not getting the support required to meet them. They're not getting the time that they need to meet the requirements of the special ed students. And that's what families are telling us. That's what educators are telling us. And that's why we can't pat ourselves on the back for being fully compliant when students with disabilities are still going without services. Compliance should be the bare minimum. It's where we should start, not where we should stop. So if we're serious about equity, about doing right by kids, then we have to admit that where the resolution stands right now isn't about supporting struggling learners. It's about protecting the district's image. And that's not who we work for. We don't work for the district. We work for our constituents and their children. So,
If I could ask the audience to hold, thanks.
While this resolution was written with care, we can and we need to just make it better. And that means working together with input from educators and families, with real accountability and transparency. And an audit is absolutely necessary, but we can't wait for its results to begin addressing our special education problems. If we can't guarantee that our students with disabilities are receiving the services they're promised, we're failing in our most basic duty as school committee members. And if we can't do that, I don't think any one of us has any business sitting at this table. So thank you for allowing me this time to say what I needed to say about this.
Dr. McKenzie, you had your hand up.
All right. So I also want to echo appreciating the work that has gone into this. And I do want to add that the word perception, I hope, does not take away from the intent that I think is behind the goal of this resolution. I want to add a couple of things to that. So while there's perception, I think there are stakeholders that we can pull into the conversation. And I don't know that we need to necessarily name them in the resolution, but I want to just bring to the discussion that we have stakeholders internally who can help us make tangible what some of the perceptions may be. So for example, we do have Ms. Blansky's office that does a tremendous job trying to coordinate and gather information. We hear from parents directly information about their experiences. We hear from students, especially as they get older, about their experiences in special education. We also have CPAC. We also have our own equity audit that we have done. I think we have a lot of resources and stakeholders in our district that can also help us with our own internal inquiry. And I'm wondering how we can leverage our own internal dialogue with educators among ourselves to know where the best sources of information, where the sources of data, feedback, and otherwise are available to us, because they do exist. We do, we get emails, we get phone calls, we have all these things that people are reporting concerns about. And I'm curious, Dr. Cushing, you're new, so maybe Ms. Brown, you could help us with this too, and Dr. Morgan. There may be places of repositories where we can delve into some of what has been reported and what the concerns are. And then if we can map that onto our equity audit that we've already invested in, and also work with CPAC and other stakeholders, I think we can start to put some teeth to the perceptions to see where we need to go in terms of pathways. I think something like that would really help us before issuing an RFP. So we're giving some kind of guidance and roadmap as to where the areas of repeated concerns are. But I thank you for getting us to this point and letting us have this discussion. That's really, really important. And I know that's hard work. And I'm not stressed about the word perception, because that's what we have. If we don't have data information, we don't have things in front of us to work with. But I do believe that information can be made available, and I would love to see how we can do that as a district even before a more comprehensive review.
Madam President, before you call on Dr. Silva, may I just say something?
Yes, Ms. Visnick.
So I said in my opening, our perceptions are our reality. And my use of that word in this sentence is in that context. My perception is my own reality, and your perception is your own reality. That's not a judgment of which one of our realities is accurate. It's probably yours. It's a statement. It's a common terms. But that said, I do recognize that that does not read well right there. I think my focus is on the whereas. Therefore, be it resolved that we have a third party come in, someone who's neutral, someone who's not biased, someone whose perception is not going to be swayed because of whatever. So, I said in my opening, we're a group. I know everybody at this table is here because they want what's best for children. And so if you have an amendment, we can talk about amendments, but it's Dr. Silva's turn. I apologize.
Dr. Silva.
I'd just like to ask if someone's here to speak about City Connects, because in the presentations that I heard about City Connects, it was my impression that it was going to have an impact on being able to identify those students and those needs and be able to craft education around each student. So it would be great to have someone that has been involved in that program to speak to that. And if it doesn't do that, why there was a disconnect. Because what I heard when that was being brought to the committee initially, I had a sense that that's what that was going to do.
I'll call on myself. I know that open meetings at the table on BevCam in front of a live audience is not the most conducive area in which we can work together collaboratively on wordsmithing or on moving this forward tonight. I have an inkling that we have some input from some community members that we might hear from. And I also had questions that I brought to the table this evening. One question is about the third party and the use of the word RFP and scope and cost. I think I was looking for more clarity about what exactly this is intending to drive forward. Obviously, we want to do what is best for our students. And I think I have a lot of questions, and I'm looking forward to having more conversation with more stakeholders and listening before I'm able to move this forward tonight. So I just wanted to say I'm not prepared to wordsmith this at the table tonight, because I think there's a lot I still need to learn and understand about some of the thoughts that have been put forward. I see Ms. Coelho's hand.
Oh, thank you. I just had something I'd like to say as well, Rachel. I know you said we shouldn't name names, so I'm not gonna put those in. Everyone knows I do like to talk about my kids and their experiences, since I have special needs kids in the school system. Well, only one now. The rest have finally graduated. I shared a story in my one-on-one last week with Dr. Cushion when I finally got to have my meeting with him. I won't share all of it here because it was lengthy. But what I will say is that I have a story of what my fellow school committee members said about disconnects. Sometimes disconnects do happen, and sometimes, like in my case, I was able to manage and fix it and help my child. From elementary to middle school, last school year, my son had a huge disconnect. I will mention one name, and that school teacher was Mr. Carr, and he was a huge help to my son. And without that school teacher that he had in the 5th grade with his transition. I don't know how his first middle school year would have been. He was a huge, huge help with Aislin's disconnect. But there are families out there that are not able to help their child to be able to fix their disconnect, or they don't know how to reach out, they don't know who to contact, and they don't know how to fix it. This causes dysregulation with students, like my own student as well. There are some select students that have disconnects and dysregulations because of services that are missed. Some things that are skipped over and some things that are passed by. I didn't get to write everything that I wanted to because there's so much more I wanted to say, so much more I wanted to write. And some of them aren't special ed services. Some of them are programs that we offer here that just get skipped by and passed that these special needs students are offered. And these are things that I talked to Dr. Cushing about that help these children. So, you know, that's why I wanted to speak up and say something. So that's why I would have to say I am in favor of this. That's all.
So we have a resolution that has been introduced to the body at this time. Do we have a motion to either advance the conversation here tonight at the table or to table it for our next committee of the whole, which are typically our meetings where we do more of the work? Ms. Robinson?
I think I want to say, I'd like to make a motion that we hear from our members in the audience, listen, and then I think we need to work on this resolution further. So whatever motion that is, I'd like to make that motion, that we work on this resolution further.
Okay, so you're just making a motion to lay it on the table for possibly taking it back up this evening. Is that your motion?
I think we should discuss it more this evening. I don't think we'll be ready to, I don't think we could wordsmith this at the table tonight. But I think we should discuss it more after we hear from.
So you're making a motion to lay this on the table to be taken back up this evening?
But not to be voted on this evening. I think we should, I don't think we should wordsmith it at the table this evening.
Okay. I don't know if we can put a restriction on voting or not voting, but anyone familiar with Robert's rules? Can we?
A little bit. I think, Ms. Robinson, I think just laying it on the table so that we can hear from people who want to speak, then we can decide afterwards what more to do or not to do. Is that,
Okay.
so to just lay it on the table for now?
Lay it on the table. Okay, so I have a motion to lay it on the table. Is there a second? Second. Oh, I saw Dr. Silva. Any more discussion? All those in favor of laying it on the table? That's 7-0. Okay, so we will pick that up before our adjournment tonight. And now we'll return to our regularly scheduled agenda. And our next agenda item is an open forum for resident voice or input onto agenda-related items. It's an opportunity to speak about a topic included or not included as part of this agenda. Any person wishing to make a request should arrive at the posted meeting time in person or email residentvoice@beverlyschools.org in advance of the meeting for any alternate accommodations. Please note that public comment, and this is directly from our policy, public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals and the school committee. It is an individual's opportunity to express an opinion on issues within the school committee's authority. Remarks are addressed through the chair, who may refer items to the superintendent for future considerations. And with that said, we do ask for your name and address for the record, and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. We have 7 speakers who have signed up this evening, and we will start in the order they appear on my list with Alyssa Crimmins. Again, name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Sorry. My name is Alyssa Crimmins. I live at One Brook Circle in Beverly, Mass. I'm a parent of 2 children that attend Cove Elementary School. I'm also a school-based occupational therapist on the North Shore. I'm here tonight because I believe change is possible. Immediate action is needed in our schools. I'm here because I want the community leaders to understand and acknowledge the real problems that teachers and students are facing every day. Teachers are screaming, asking for help, and are met with silence and no support. Parents are telling us that they need help. Our data and our MCAS scores tell us we need help. Yet nothing is changing. To be quite honest, things actually seem to be getting worse. Based on my own experience, my own expertise as a school-based OT, this is what I do for a living. I help children with special education and give them the services and education that they deserve by law. It has come to my attention, and it's my lived experience, that the Beverly public school system is woefully out of compliance with state and federal laws. That includes child find, that includes FAPE, that includes MTSS. This district has had a pattern of systematically failing us. I know this because I've been advocating for my own child with a disability for the past 20 months. My daughter's name is Reese. She's 9 years old and she's dyslexic. I've known she's had problems with reading since she was 4 years old. I've asked the school to help us 4 years since first grade. Last year in 3rd grade, her teacher asked all the students, what do you want to learn in school this year? She said, I want to be able to learn how to read. The very basic foundation of how we educate kids, they have to be able to read. The level of resistance and pushback that I was met with is unspeakable. It's disgusting, it's unlawful. 20 months of fighting and advocating, and I still could not get my kid the services she deserved. Unfortunately, I had to take matters in my own hand. Do you know how much an OG tutor is in the city of Beverly for a school year? It's $8,000, 2 days a week. How is that equitable? How is that the standard for our families? How are we telling our families that's what you have to do to get your kid to read in the city of Beverly? It is not okay. We have to do better. We deserve better. We can't keep waiting to see if kids are going to fail. They're already failing.
Thank you. Next on our list is Kelly Riley. If you could name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kelly Riley, and I live at 43 Beaver Pond Road in Beverly. Good evening. I have a 9th and 12th grader at BHS. I wanted to share my concerns about Beverly's special education department and the fact that many students are not receiving the legally mandated services outlined in their IEPs. For example, my child's IEP called for an in-class support as well as small group services twice a week, every week this past school year. That should have been more than 60 sessions. In reality, he only received 8. More than 50 services were missed, services guaranteed to him under the law, and offered to make up those services during the summer was not something that he should deal with, and it punishes him for the district's failure to provide what was owed to him during the school year. When I asked why, I asked the teachers, like, why was this missed? And it was all about the caseloads, their caseloads. And I want to be very clear, this is not about the teachers failing to do their jobs. In fact, it's the opposite is true. Our special education teachers are being pulled in too many directions, covering classes, attending IEP, admin meetings, helping with behavior issues, or handling administrative tasks, or as my son said, he was pulled to go photocopy mom. While still being expected to deliver an impossible workload, they are dedicated, but without proper staffing and backup support, it can't be done. My child's IEP even stated in his that his special education teacher, if he was unavailable, a para would step in and prevent missed services. But my son told me he never once saw a para the entire year, even though I repeatedly was told by multiple admin that there was one there. That shows a breakdown in support and accountability, not teacher effort. Many families have left our school systems because of this. What breaks my heart is that many others don't even realize that the services are being missed to their child. Unless you know the right questions, you assume the IEP is being followed, and too often it's not. When I raised these concerns with our previous superintendent, I was told, I am embarrassed to say we have a high staff call-out rate and have a hard time finding subs. Well, typically people don't call out from jobs that they feel supported in. They call out when they're overwhelmed, drained, and the expected workload is just not possible. I shared those feelings with minimal response. I also learned that at BMS, 3 special ed teachers were cut or not replaced, and no designated paras were designed to cover the gap. If staff already can't meet the current demands, how can cutting positions possibly solve the problem? It's only going to get worse. I've asked how many students does each special ed teacher serves, and how do the administrators ensure these services are actually being delivered? But I never got a clear answer after multiple phone calls with multiple educators. What I do know is one teacher with 16 to 18 IEPs can't realistically meet all those requirements. This isn't about effort, it's about capacity. Since BMS opened in 2018, only 30% of special ed staff has stayed. That statistic tells the story.
Please.
This is a systemic issue, almost done, so sorry. Students on IEPs have the right to the services written, and the district has a legal obligation to provide it to them. Our teachers want to deliver those services, but they cannot do it without proper staffing, support, and accountability from administration. The truth is, many people avoid working in special ed because it's such a demanding job. The teachers who choose it are dedicated, but truthfully, they need as much
Ms. Riley.
support as our children do to keep these services. Please give them the support that they need. Thank you.
Looks like Mary Lynn Strashar. So close. Is that an N? I can't read the last letter. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Mary Lynn Strachan, and I am the CPAC chair. I've come tonight to introduce myself and talk to you about CPAC's role in the district. Massachusetts mandates CPAC by law. We are required to have bylaws and hold a minimum of one basic rights workshop a year. I want to add something in that I have to tell you that the bylaws were not existent during the tier focus monitoring. I wrote them for that in time for the audit. We see as CPAC, our job is to serve as a liaison between families of children with special needs and district leaders, advising on program development, planning, and evaluation. We serve as a crucial communication bridge between families, school staff, and district administrators. We support and educate family on special education laws, available resources, and community support networking. CPAC should also work with the school committee by serving as advisory and participatory body for special education programs. Over the past year, we have heard from more and more families with issues. Some of the common themes are lack of child find, lack of MTSS implementation, lack of service delivery of IEP, and lack of supporting data. Stories we have heard from parents are similar to the concerns raised by the teachers. We are becoming increasingly concerned. I came to CPAC in 2020 when I moved here and existed as a party of one for several years. Over the past year, there are 3 of us now, and since the strike, more parents are interested in joining CPAC. From what I've been told, historically, CPAC has not had a strong presence in the district, and I can confirm that parent participation is difficult. Wearing my parent hat for a moment, I have had a very positive experience in Beverly. I've lived the experience that you have heard and will continue to hear about in the coming times in the past in another district. The special education system is broken, and the deck is always stacked against the parent. Currently, we hold the burden of proof in the court system. I work well with Bethany as a parent and CPAC, and I have a good relationship with my team chairs, even when we disagree. While there are certainly things I think could go better for my daughters, I'm overall happy. But that has come with a personal cost. I have outside tutors for my daughter. I pay an advocate to join me at the meetings and consult in their IEPs, as well as has had multiple outside testing to provide a more comprehensive view of my daughter's learning disabilities. I certainly do not have $25,000 extra dollars that I have spent to advocate for my girls, but that is what I've spent, and trust me when I say I'm not alone. This is common practice, especially throughout the dyslexic community in our district. As a parent, this concerns me. As a CPAC chair, this gravely concerns me for the population of children in the district that cannot spend the money on the outside support or do not know that their child is not being identified or referred to testing for disability and have no idea how to navigate going about to get help and escalate their concerns. I have 36 more seconds. I timed myself. I take responsibility for the lack of visibility of CPAC in the past few years. I want to make that clear. I'm happy to have this opportunity to address you tonight to let you know that we exist as a separate and independent entity and are here as the voice of the families. I'm saddened that last year's strike has brought these concerns to light, but I'm proud of the staff and the families that have decided to come forth and speak to let us know that the concerns run deeper than we imagined existed. The role of the CPAC is not ever to find fault. Our role is to support, advise, and assure transparency and collaboration. We look forward to rebuilding our CPAC in the district alongside the families and community. Our email is cpacbeverly@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have 4 more speakers, and I would just ask you to try to keep your remarks to 3 minutes. We can't really extend too long, just so everyone has an opportunity. This looks like Jessica McKay. Again, if you could state your name and address for the record, and I'll start the timer once you've done that.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for letting us speak this evening. I greatly appreciate it. And Lorinda, thank you for bringing this resolution forward. I'm happy to see that we have a new starting point to progress from. I too am a parent of a child who is on an IEP in this district, and tonight what I would like to talk about or bring to light is the lack of transparency that I see in this district. 2 hats as a parent. What I've seen in my own child's education is that paras are regularly used as substitutes in my child's elementary school. So that means that she does not get the services that she needs whenever there's a need or somebody calls out, as was previously addressed. The lack of service delivery details. I'm not able to communicate with my daughter for when she gets the things that are on her grid. I've asked for those things to be in writing from our teachers and special ed educators and haven't been able to receive that. My biggest gripe, however, is that I've asked for programs to be publicly available on the website so that parents who have a newly diagnosed child are able to view and learn what is available to them in this district, and that's been denied, and I don't understand why. I think that that's something that should be readily available to any parent who has a child that's newly diagnosed. I also don't feel like there's a lot of resources for parents who are searching for help, and I say this as a CPAC member. We get communications from parents that I feel like are at the end of their rope. They don't seem to know that we exist. And frankly, I don't think that they have the capacity to help us because they're in a crisis with their child. I would like us to be more collaborative so that we have a voice at this table so that we can help prior to it becoming a crisis. And I don't think that that collaboration has been offered previously, so I'm really hoping that that's part of the resolution. That you all, one of you all, could attend a CPAC meeting so that we could understand what your capabilities are to help the community and that you would understand ours so that we can, again, help the people in this community that have have kids with special needs, because it is very isolating. It is very difficult to know what your child can receive from the district and should receive legally, because those things are not readily available. And as was spoken about earlier, not everybody has the resources to pay $25,000 per year to support their child, to hire an advocate, or to hire a special ed attorney, which is unfortunately where we have to go with a lot of these concerns. Also, something that greatly concerned me was the amount of non-disclosure agreements that are done in this district. I'm really, really concerned about that. It was highlighted in a Boston Globe article last year, and I don't think that that allows for any transparency. And I think that that's the goal, so that parents don't know what agreements are made between the district and those parents who do have the resources to hire an attorney. And that's of great concern to me. I also hear from community members as a CPAC member that there are inequities in the service delivery, and it seems to be based on the parents' resources. And obviously that's a concern.
If you could draw your remarks to a close.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Samantha Mooney Harris, please. State your name and address for the record.
Samantha Mooney Harris, 161 Lothrop Street. I will never be a public speaker, so please bear with me. Originally, I wasn't going to speak this evening. As all parents know, days, nights, evening, they all meld into one hot mess. But I'm here in all of my scuzzy glory to talk to you guys. So, sup, Beverly? I am here this evening to share some of my experiences surrounding the special educational system. As many of you know, in the Beverly school system and can attest, my children are extremely well-rounded with struggles and physician diagnosis like executive processing disorder, extreme fight or flight, like bolting out of the school, anxiety, major depressive disorder, ADD with comprehension processing disorder, ADHD with sensory components, early intervention, speech, OT, the whole gamut. I've had many parents asking me questions on our journeys, as we have had a few of those, and how we have navigated. I don't have many answers for those parents because they're so different, and both times for each were both pretty confusing and often frustrating. I have all the issues my kids have, so like as a parent trying to work through that, it's very, very difficult. Thank God my husband has a couple brain cells. Unfortunately, I have had to reach out to a child advocate to learn some of the lingo and what I need to specifically ask for, and what kind of paperwork we need to have to make the process work for us. That's always fun, that experience, of having to reach out and ask somebody like, yeah, you guys know. The guilt and anxiety about taking services from another kiddo is something that weighs on me heavily, so I don't do any of this lightly. But ultimately, I need to be pushy for my kids. My children are really struggling, especially my eldest. They're constantly middle of the road for academics, but every year they have big struggles, and I have a hard time supporting them, and then I struggle to get the help that they need or what is on their 504. And again, it's never lack of teacher, they're just spread so thin. As a ninth grader, my ninth grader spelled the word puppies wrong. And half of you here know Milo, formerly Maeve. They were on the superintendent committee search. They've done other things for the city. They're not a dumb kid, but there's some serious comprehension skills that they can test and get grades for, but it's not retaining, and I don't know what to do with that. Like I said, they learn the grades to get by, but the skills are not being retained. I believe a decent part of that comes down to classroom size, teachers being spread too thin, lack of project-based learning, because my kids are very physical, tactile learners. I have experiences where my extra kiddos, meaning the kids that my children have adopted as siblings, are basically, they're not being taken seriously at all within the special education system, even with physician documentation. So they have those struggles, and I trying to help them. But on the other side, one of my children last year had to manage in a classroom where a couple of the kiddos who were supposed to have dedicated paras did not consistently. Unfortunately, the outbursts became more physical through the year where my child, other children, and even the teacher were assaulted. I didn't get any kind of documentation like an incident report or anything. He was fine, and I don't want to say lax. I love my kids to death, but I know kids are kids.
If you could draw your remarks to a close, please.
Sorry. So I don't blame these kids at all. I'm a big proponent for inclusion, super, but it was a mess. And it's clear to me and many of the other parents that I've talked with that more of an investment needs to be made overall for teachers and the special education department. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Olivia Nilsson. If you could state your name and address for the record, it'll start the timer.
Olivia Wilson, 5 Porter Terrace. Good evening. My name is Olivia Wilson. I'm a special educator in the therapeutic program at Beverly Middle School. Over and over, you've heard concerns about the state of Beverly special education. Tonight is no different. We will continue to bring this forward until it is fixed because right now our special education department is drowning. I love my job in part because I work across grades and in both inclusion and substantially sub-separate settings. I see how special education is run across the school. Let's be clear, this is not a perception problem. It is not a matter of communication or optics. We have open special education positions, we have staff shortages, and we have services that are legally required but not being delivered. That is reality. At the middle school alone, we are operating without 2 special education teachers. That means at least 25 students are legally entitled to services they are not receiving in the upper grades. The staff who are here are stretched too thin, and the kids are left without the support they need and deserve. Amazing special education teachers are leaving Beverly because the job has become impossible and heartbreaking. I understand the committee is considering a third-party audit. We can do an audit. But let's be honest, an audit would take years to complete, and our kids do not have years. They need help right now. Every day we wait, the students fall further behind, and their rights continue to be violated. We are not bringing this up to attack management or to rehash last year's conflicts. We are bringing it up because our children are being failed, and it is our responsibility to act. We need more immediate solutions. There are parents here tonight who have lived this experience and are brave enough to share their stories. I hope their voices, along with ours, can help bridge this gap because our students can't wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker for this agenda item is Matt Faria. Is it Farrier? Faria? Thanks. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Matt Ferrer, 135 Hale Street. Good evening. Welcome, Dr. Cushing. So I'm here tonight to speak both as a parent and as a professional educator. I am Associate Superintendent for a regional school district on the seacoast of New Hampshire. We serve 5 communities. And I just want to share not only my own family's personal experience, but also what I hear from teachers, from staff, and other parents who feel that they cannot speak up without fear of repercussion. Because for some reason, they're coming to me, and that should not be the case. Just recently, in my own personal experience, we asked for specific testing. This was testing that our pediatrician had recommended for our child. And when the district sent the testing consent form, they quietly added an early 3-year reevaluation, more than a year ahead of schedule. So my wife immediately noticed this. She's a school psychologist, and she emailed the team chair and in writing stated that she did not consent to that reevaluation, and she asked for it to be removed. End of story, right? Well, believing it was corrected, we made the mistake and signed the revised DocuSign. Yet now, we are being told that her signature commits us to that reevaluation we never agreed to, both before we signed and after. This is not an oversight. This is a tactic. These little things add up. IEP teams will agree to service levels by week or month in the team meeting, only to then receive an IEP that's written as 5-day cycles or 30-day cycles. That may mean nothing to you. I know many of you are not in public education, as judged by what I hear on a almost regular basis in these meetings. But in practice, it reduces services. A month becomes a month and a half under that structure, and most parents don't realize that. At one point, we asked for a Wyatt test. That's industry standard. Oh, we were told, oh, we don't even have that instrument, and we don't administer it here. Yet, magically, when our other child was tested, just a month later, they had the Wyatt, and he got tested on the Wyatt. I can go through the missed deadlines, the miscommunications, mistakes in nauseum, but the problem is that this has become a strategy, not mistakes. So at the same time, administrators are being forced to stretch resources in ways that are largely invisible to the public. At the middle school, the number of 5th grade special education teachers has been reduced from 5 to 3 this year, leaving them with caseloads of roughly 20 students. Now, most of you professionals know that national standards are closer to 12 to 15 students per teacher at the middle school level. Caseloads of 20 are just unsustainable. But beyond that, what you don't see the unintended consequences of those decisions, right? So what that means is that the classrooms become imbalanced, and some are disproportionately filled with students with IEPs, others overloaded with students on 504s or students with behavioral needs.
If you could draw your remarks to a close, please.
Yep, I'll finish up when I'm ready. Often without adequate additional support. These quiet reallocations are not efficiencies. They are hidden costs of chronic underfunding, and they directly compromise both service quality and compliance with federal requirements. When I made a public information request for our staffing analysis, which I assumed we had, I was told that it did not exist. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how you budget, and I don't know how you staff for special education without a staffing analysis. And here's part of the larger problem. It is incredibly difficult to have open, transparent conversations about special education in any community. The district is constrained in what we can share publicly. Families are reluctant to speak out because they worry about how it will affect their child's services. I was reluctant to come tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Faria. Your time's expired.
I'll continue.
No, you
Teachers
will
and
not.
staff
Thank
worry
you.
about how it will affect their professional standing. As a result, the truth often stays in the shadows. May I please finish? I'm the last speaker. I have probably 5 minutes. You let everyone else finish. May I have anyone's 3 minutes time?
Sorry, not everyone was allowed to finish. Thank you. You can send your remarks in writing.
May I take someone else's 3 minutes?
We're the last. Thank you. We're going to move on to our next agenda
So that
item. Is the
speaks
item-
to the receptiveness and
We're
and
following our
how the school
policy. Thank
committee
you.
listens to our community, right there. Thank you.
We try
Thank
to
you,
be fair
Rachel.
to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in the election.
Okay, so our next item on the agenda is items by consensus. This is a recommended motion to approve the items as listed on the agenda. They are listed A through G. These are warrants for the bills of our district. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
No, I actually had more of a comment than this other agenda item.
Okay, so we're on our agenda item. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I don't
Thank
think we
you.
finished the other agenda item. That's why I'm trying to.
We had, it's not
Can I
a
just ask a
discussion or
clarifying
debate.
question?
You can ask
No,
a
no, no.
clarifying question.
It doesn't sound like we voted or decided whether we're going to, we said we table the topic.
We did
So
table
are
it.
we when are we circling back to that?
We're
Are
going
we
to circle
voting?
back to it when it's on the agenda again.
Gotcha, so it will circling
It
back
will,
at
we're
the
going
end
to
of the-
circle back.
Gotcha,
to it.
I just
Thank
want to
you.
confirm what we're.
Sure.
what
So
our
the motion
process
on the
is.
table is to approve the warrants, which is the paying of the district's bills. The warrants are listed A through G on the agenda for various amounts. I have a motion from Ms. Visnick, a second by Ms. Coelho. Yes, okay. Are there any questions on the matter? All those in favor of paying our bills? 7-0. Okay. We now have reached the part of the agenda that is the superintendent's report. We have a few different items and a special guest joining us this evening.
Good evening, members of the school committee and our guests in the audience. Really appreciate everybody being here this evening. So this is my first official report. I gave a brief one at our committee of the whole, but I just want to take a moment. I think it's really important as we look at equity and we consider who we are as a district and who we are as people, to take a moment for a land acknowledgement. Anyone watching online, you can scan the QR code. This brings you to a very interesting map, and just like to acknowledge both the heritages of the Pawtuxet and Agawam people on this land that we currently are here as guests. And so while we can't undo the mistakes of the past, I think we have a responsibility and an opportunity to acknowledge them and work towards a continually better future in all aspects of the work that we do. So I also would like to ask for us as a community to realize that we're on the eve of one of the most violent acts against civilians, and also today, the political unrest and upheaval that we continue to face in this nation reared its head with something that just I can't believe is happening. And again, 2 students fell victim. I don't know the status of their injuries in Colorado, but if we just have a moment of silent reflection and think about the importance of the work that we're doing. Thank you for that, and I appreciate everyone's understanding and patience as I bring these issues forward. So I just want to review our mission. So the Beverly Public Schools seeks to maximize academic achievement and personal growth to enable all students to compete within the global economy. And to that end, the Beverly High School Vision of Graduate really looks to have, just want to minimize my Zoom screen just for a second, I apologize. A problem solver who thinks critically and communicates effectively, exhibits responsibility and empathy in attitude and behavior. A graduate understands the importance of inclusivity and community engagement, and the graduate pursues a post-secondary plan that supports the student's skills and interests. As part of my work entering the district this year, I've asked our school leaders to work on understanding what the portrait of a learner should be as they move on from 4th grade, 8th grade, and to re-examine our portrait of a graduate. So the opening of schools, I just want to put up, I will not read all of their names, just because that took a considerable amount of time during our convocation, but I really want to respect and call attention to the wonderful new staff that we have hired at the Beverly Public Schools this year, and recognize that these educators are fundamentally critical and important to the work that we do to support our students. We are, as has been mentioned in public comment, still actively recruiting and hiring staff as we speak for significantly challenging positions to fill, but we are redoubling efforts and continually looking for ways to recruit districts, people to our district. So these educators we have met with as a new central office policy is either myself or Assistant Superintendent Brown are meeting with every single employee who becomes a member of our district as a final review prior to hiring, so that we as leaders understand and know who is working with our students in the district. And so I just wanted to take a moment to say that. We've also reviewed with our staff and will continue to expand as part of our opening of school, the I Love You Guys district response protocol. It's the standard response protocol. It unifies language. We'll be working with the Emergency Response Committee. I apologize for not having the specific Beverly name right now in this moment. I apologize. But to make sure that staff are fully aware that we communicate with families, caregivers, and community so that they understand the terminology and fully clear across all areas. So I've also taken time to really start to recognize the challenges, to work with our leadership teams, to really help move our district forward. The entry plan that I shared with you previously is going to help to really peel back our layers, understand who we are and who we want to be. Who do we aspire to be as a district? The theme for this year is From Challenge to Change Together. You'll notice the Back to the Future theme in the writing, because trying to get to a lot of those things that were positive and beneficial prior to the global pandemic. Working together to identify and collectively problem solve our complex problems of practice, listening to teacher voice and the voice of all of our staff. If we can't do something in a manner suggested, we will provide the why we cannot. Giving people and helping people understand the why a decision is made is so fundamentally critical to having us move together as a community. Having those difficult conversations is a fundamental part of how I see us moving forward. Honest communication that is done frequently, memo that was put out and memos that have been put out to families and communities are going to be another standard practice. And looking for teams, for teacher and other staff input, and then really examining our existing systems and structures to identify what works, what needs to be examined, and what needs to be reconsidered as we open school. This was shared with all staff on our first day, and really want to echo and carry forward that as we move forward. Apologize, having a little bit of, there we go. So our attendance on the first day, attendance is a critical focus of the district. It's a critical focus of the work that we're doing on our first day, and I will share attendance frequently as we move forward. I'll also be looking for students and student accomplishments to be shared with this committee as frequently as possible. The students are the core value, are the core of what we do and the fundamental basis of our work. So Beverly High School, 98.76%. Beverly Middle School, 98.99%, and elementary schools aggregated across all 5 schools, 99.16%. We will provide data on this moving forward and continue to work to have high attendance and to identify those reasons why students may not be in school and find ways to support them and make sure that they are here. Transportation. So right now we're working to refine the large bus and van routes. We've definitely had some delays. We've had some equipment challenges, but our mechanics, our transportation department are working diligently through those challenges, and we're really making sure that our students are being picked up, delivered when they need to be, and I expect that those delays will be resolved by the end of this week or early next. So one district with one purpose. That's making sure that all of our students receive the best education possible. I've been so impressed with the professional staff that I've seen as I've made my way around the district. I spent all day today at Beverly High School. We'll be at Hannah School tomorrow, North Beverly, and I forget where else I have on my schedule for the remainder of this week. But I also do look forward to seeing people at Hurd Stadium this week, where hopefully our football team will even up at 500 with a victory this Saturday. So you'll hear me say it's a great day to be a Panther, usually with a lot more enthusiasm. And I mean that also for all of the people who are here tonight sharing their experiences, that It may not have been a great day to be a Panther for you at times. My obligation, my duty is to work with this committee and with this city to make sure that it's a great day to be a Panther. And as I said, and some of the staff might be laugh here, but I said it in our convocation, we'll be the Panther coming out of the darkness. We will be an amazing force of academics and of education and social involvement and athletics and music and fill in the blank of anything that I've missed when we become a flagship district in this state. We have amazing staff, amazing leaders, and we just need to work together to understand our differences and to move us forward. At this time, sorry if I'm going fast, but I recognize the hour and want to be respectful of people who are here to present. As a new superintendent, there is a strong recommendation for new superintendents to participate in NISIP, the New Superintendent Induction Program. And as that, every superintendent for 3 years receives a coach who is a former superintendent. And my coach happens to be Cindy Taymor, who is joining us here this evening. Cindy not only has been a superintendent, but a special education director and other roles in the district that she will be able to share, as well as describe the program. I will stop the screen share, but this is something that people on YouTube will be able to go back and pause and read at your leisure. And Cindy.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me tonight. I am Cindy Taymor. I'm a retired superintendent. I was last superintendent in Melrose. And prior to that, as Peter said, I was an assistant superintendent, a special ed director, an assistant special ed director, a program coordinator, a teacher. And when I retired and I had absolutely nothing to do, I became the interim executive director of a collaborative. So I have spent my whole life dedicated to the well-being of our kids. It's my pleasure to work with Peter as he undertakes Beverly at this crucial time in your history. I myself am a graduate of NISIP. I won't tell you how many years ago, but let's say I was at the forefront of the program. And Peter is in cohort 16. At this point in time, almost every superintendent in Massachusetts has passed through NISIP. And NISIP is a collaborative program between DESE and the Massachusetts Association for School Superintendents. And it was created because we understood that people stepping into a role as Peter is need support. This is not a job that comes to you naturally, even if you have come up through the ranks over many years. So what happens during NISIP is Peter will be in NISIP for 3 years. And during those 3 years, there is a set curriculum originally designed by Liz City and Rachel Curtis out of Harvard School of Education, but it has evolved over the years. But it is highly focused on instructional leadership, team building, because Peter cannot do it all. He has to achieve through his team, and supervision and evaluations, not as a critique of teachers, but as a collaborative effort to find best practices that improve outcomes for children. I will tell you, over the years, as NISIP has evolved, it has become highly focused on equity. It is highly concerned with improving instruction and outcomes so that all our students have access, opportunity, and can achieve, especially those students who have been historically marginalized. So much of what we discuss at NISIP is how do you improve outcomes for those students who are typically not, let's say, self-starters and may need those supports, some of which you spoke of tonight. So we will be doing that together. In the first year, Peter and I meet 6 hours a month, and he attends 1 full-day meeting a month. We just had, I did 2 this week today, so I'm a little goofy here today. And if you don't know, the state thinks Marlborough is central. So for those of us who live in the North Shore and never even want to go through the TED, it's a problem. But in the first year, he'll meet for a total of 48 hours with his cohort. He is one of 20 in this year's cohort. He'll meet with me 6 hours a month, all 12 months of the year. Next year, we cut back a little bit, and he meets for 39 hours, and we meet 4 hours a month. And in his third year, which is probably one of the most valuable pieces of this, he goes into a consultancy with other superintendents for problems of practice. I will tell you, having gone through this program, the best part has been the network. To this day, I am friendly and professionally involved with people that I came up through NISIP with. They were a great resource for me in problem solving, in finding resources, and working collaboratively across districts. And I hope that this will be the same for Peter here. So how do I do this? Poor Donna has been terrific. She communicates with me often as I try to juggle this Peter's schedule, my schedule, and all the other supers I coach. And I'm here in person to meet with him one-on-one. Sometimes we do it virtually. I will attend leadership meetings. I was at his retreat for a full day. I'll do classroom visits with him, and I will observe him in one-to-one meetings with administrators. My work with Peter is highly confidential. It does not get shared with anyone, not even all of you, I'm sorry. But it is about him learning to be the best leader he can be so that he can in turn influence his team, and they can in turn influence their staff. And at the end of that road is we improve outcomes for children. So that is pretty much the program in a nutshell. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But that is up to you.
We appreciate you taking the time to meet us and to explain the program, especially since you had to commute from Marlborough.
No, well, that was today, but I live in Salem, so I'm looking forward to
okay.
getting home
So
finally.
we'll try to get you home early. I think I saw Mayor Cahill start to raise his hand. Do you have a question or comment?
Well, if you must. Thanks, Madam President. Coach Tamor, thank you. Do you mind if I call you Coach?
No, I want to know if I get a little Panther jacket with that.
I was going to ask if the superintendent has got you feeling like a Panther yet.
A little tough seeing I was Big Blue.
Swampscott? Oh, my. Seriously, thank you. We know it's a great program. We appreciate your involvement. Thanks.
Thank you.
Do other members have questions or comments?
No? Well,
I think we'll all extend a warm welcome. We hope you enjoy your time in the district and that, Peter and you have a wonderful three-year endeavor.
all right. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
I also want to say thank you. Her sage advice has already proven very valuable and really appreciate it. And the network of superintendents in Massachusetts has been really helpful.
Won't get you any slack.
That's all right. I don't expect any.
Okay, I think you have a couple more exciting items on your agenda, and I know that we have audiences waiting at home for the traditional reveal.
So this is kind of amazing. Delia let me know that today, that it's the exciting reveal. And so I actually am going to say next year I plan to have the drum line here to be able to drum roll it. But before we get to that, let me just again share my screen. This year, I'd like to call forward Adam Costa, Olivia, and I'm blanking, Steve. Thank you, Steve. I'd like to call all three forward. I apologize for not getting all three names in the slide. We're here to request a music and band field trip out of state for our band and music program to Hershey Park. Many years ago, I had the experience of that being the one roller coaster where I felt like the contacts were going to be ripped out of my eyes. And they'll be traveling on April 30th through May 3rd through 2 motor coaches, numerous music presentation opportunities for all students, and who knows, maybe the opportunity to dress up as a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Well,
And
welcome.
Adam.
See, we're on. Okay, good. I don't know how to follow that up. That's like the most enthusiastic introduction we've ever gotten for one of these reveals. But thank you for that, Dr. Cushing. And I know the entire school committee received a copy of our proposal and a general itinerary of this trip. So I brought along with me my colleagues, Olivia and Steve, to also flesh out a little bit of what we're intending to do with this trip and the origins of why we chose this destination, and a little bit more context. So as was already mentioned, we're looking to travel for a total of 4 days and 3 nights, which will take us to a few different locations within Pennsylvania, probably most notably Hershey Park, which I think will be the main draw for the students, but we will be staying in Harrisburg and also spending a full day in both Gettysburg and Lancaster. The total cost per student comes to $922, and that is based on travel for 2 full coach buses, so 104 students, as well as 8 adult chaperones. So that would include the 3 of us, 2 nursing medical staff, and 3 parents, probably from our booster organization, BUMPA. I think the big thing that I wanted to point out about this trip is it's the first time since before the pandemic, and we just talked about this a little bit, returning to norms and traditions that we had before that time. This will be the first time that we return to competition and adjudication festival situation. The last time we did it was 2019 in Washington, D.C., and Hershey Park runs a really great festival program. We last did the Hershey Park program in 2015, and it's an all-inclusive package, includes performance opportunities and adjudication for all 6 of our ensembles, and then a clinic afterward with a professional musician. Very, very often they're chosen from local college music programs, professors, and professional musicians who do this adjudication. And there will be other high school programs there as well that we will get to hear and go into friendly competition with. And then the kids get the rest of the day at Hershey Park, followed by a great awards ceremony. So the day-to-day itinerary, the gist of it, you might notice it's a day shorter than what we did last year in DC. We have a day for travel down to the Harrisburg area, 1 full day spent sightseeing and touring both Gettysburg and Lancaster with step-on guides, walking tours around the battlegrounds and around the Amish country area. Hershey Park and the adjudication takes up 1 full day. That'll be the Saturday of the trip, and then a stop at a science and arts center in Harrisburg on the way home Sunday morning, and returning back to Beverly Sunday evening. And then I know, based on past precedent, that some of the questions that are often asked at these meetings, I just wanted to reiterate that we will have medical staff on board. Mrs. Visnak. We will have either an MD or an RN, 1 per bus at all times, handling medications and so forth. And I also felt compelled to mention, because we get asked occasionally, well, where are you thinking of going and how far away are you going to travel and what is the cost and so forth. And the reason we landed on Hershey, aside from general affordability and having gone there before and seeing its success with our students, we've sort of exhausted the Northeast metropolis over the last few years. We did New York City, and then Philadelphia, and then Washington, D.C., and then it became a concern of any other place we wanted to go was either going to require us to be away from school for a longer period of time due to just time traveled on a bus, or we'd be looking at driving up the cost substantially in order to fly to other locations, and also taking into account school vacation, AP testing, and so forth. This seemed like the best bang for our buck this year. So that's how we landed on Hershey. But I wanted to turn it over to Olivia at this time to talk a little bit more just about the financial end of things and fundraising.
Hello, for those of you streaming, I'm Olivia Mincello. I'm the choir director at Beverly High School. It's funny that Adam brought up the last trip to this area being 2015 because I participated as a high school student in 2015 in the same festival in Music in the Parks. But I want to speak a little bit about the cost. So the total cost per student is $922 as long as we do fill the general allotment of students that we run, which we do expect to do. This includes all meals, lodging, and whatnot, except for 2 rest stop meals, which are just on the way up. We'll stop once on the bus on the way up for food and once on the way home. Every other meal, our lodging, museums, tours, and professional performances are covered in the cost of the trip. We have a $150 non-refundable deposit due on Friday, October 3rd, following our meeting, our general meeting discussing itinerary and contract and whatnot. And I've designed a payment program where parents and families can choose to pay larger chunks up front, but they also have a system that they can make payments around twice a month from the months of October to February at around $77 to $78 a payment to make things a little bit more digestible when it comes to budgeting for this trip. Our boost organization, Bumpa, in this cost, we already have considered their contribution of $60 per student. That breaks down to offsetting $40 of the student cost off of the trip, bringing us down to that $922, as well as on the trip, they provide every student a $20 per diem for one of their meals that it wasn't otherwise covered, so that they only have to worry about those 2 costs. That being said, we understand that $922 for each family, some families with more than 1 music student in our program, that's not a small chunk. So we have designed some fundraising efforts, many of which are similar to past years, including a canning weekend in the city of Beverly, in October. We also have some pie sales in the fall, which were very successful last year, that will line up with a pre-Thanksgiving delivery so that students can go around selling those pies to advertise them for Thanksgiving feasts. We have an ongoing coordination of gift card sales, and that percentage of kickback depends on the gift card purchased. But the way that it would work is if you make 10% on a gift card and you've sold it or purchased it for $100, right, then $10 goes into your student fund. In 2023, we did carolograms, which was a huge hit. And that was where students will fundraise and record, carols that would be sent to the receiving person via email. And we're still looking into more opportunities for dining for dollars type events where it's a little bit more of a passive approach. But all of the fundraising that we've previously mentioned, the really cool thing about it is that it's individual based. And so if students, for say, go canning on that weekend and they work a shift, the money that we divide evenly throughout the students per the shift as a unit goes directly towards their trip, so that they can work really hard to offset the cost for their specific trip. That being said, we also last year started a scholarship fund for the music trip where parents or families who may have that opportunity can pledge to donate a certain amount with their biweekly check or a certain amount outside of that payment to give towards some students who may not be able to afford this opportunity. I am super excited to get back to competing following the pandemic, and that's something that I am so excited to share with the kids as we get back to class tomorrow, since this is the big announcement. This competition is a very friendly one while still keeping that high expectations of the students. So I think that the Music in the Parks does maintain our values of our music program, of that community and that friendly competition that does allow us to keep our students at high expectations. And that would be it from me. And I'm happy to take any questions regarding the trip and also invite Steve to make any comments if he'd like.
I think we're on a schedule. I just want to just say one thing, that I think this trip, this is my 11th year here, is really the binding force for the music department. And it's something that I really support and I see in the kids rallying around it. Last year, I had 25 kids in my group, and 23 of them went. So, and the year before that, all of them went. So I think we need to support this and keep this going. Thank you.
See, Ms. Visnick has a question or comment.
I want to start the motion to say I
Okay.
think we should approve this music trip.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. We have a motion on the table to approve, and go ahead.
I'm sad that I don't get to ask my question.
Okay.
Take it ahead.
It looks like Mayor Cahill, you might have a question or a comment.
Sure. More curiosity, how big of a deal is Hershey Park? And is it a destination for all the high schools? Is there a host high school? And do you know how many you'll be competing alongside?
So I've already gone ahead and registered all of our ensembles on the Festivals of Music website. We won't know until probably closer to the holidays, maybe even January, how many other schools will be in the park on that day. The park itself is really the hub for, obviously, the amusement park piece of things and then the award ceremony. But what they do is they have satellite locations, usually within 15 to 20 minute drive of the park, where all of the choral groups will perform at one high school, the string ensemble, the orchestra groups will play at another one, and band and so forth. So it's a little bit of a relay race depending on how we get scheduled in the morning. But everything is within, I would say, a 20 to 30 minute drive of the park, with the park being the hub.
Sounds great.
I know we're on a time limit, but Music in the Parks as a festival like circuit is a national circuit. So they partner with a bunch of amusement parks to host them with those satellite schools. And so Hershey is just one of the many that theme parks around the country that do it. But it is one of the bigger ones for the competition site for at least the East Coast. For example, like Six Flags New England does it, but it's a smaller scale, and you won't necessarily have as much of a scope of ensemble.
Thank you, Dr. Cushing.
So I think this is a phenomenal trip. I am so happy to support it. I am so happy that that this is happening. I do, for full transparency, have to let the committee know that there have been changes in nursing regulations that are going to complicate out-of-state and have always complicated international travel. Licensure does not extend beyond the borders of the Commonwealth unless, and I've asked Nursel to be here. I know it is not specifically called out on the agenda. I have a couple of slides, and if Nursel, or if you would like to address it at a future meeting, I don't think that should stop approval of this trip. It just, I do want to be very transparent and very clear that in particular, all right, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts nursing regulations changed last November or so? Yes, or so. Yep, sorry. And is definitely complicating out-of-state travel. And so I'm prepared to present slides on it, but where we had 2 field trips, I did want to be fully clear and transparent, but it's also not specifically called out on the agenda, and respect the committee's decision if you feel like it needs to be put forward for another thing. I do not think that should stop any approvals, but I just want to be fully clear.
Thank you. Mayor Cahill.
Interesting twist, Dr. Cushing. I mean, clearly nobody here wants to say no to this trip. And nobody at the state wants to. So you kind of teased us. I feel like we need you to walk us through for a couple minutes. And
So
Thanks.
I'd actually like, the reason why I asked the expert to be here is because while I have the title of doctor, I've still yet to crack a chest. And I do feel that our nurse leader, Jody Elder, would be the best to speak on this. Just give me a second to move forward. You get a preview of the Citadel. And so, Nurse Elder.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to say I appreciate your enthusiasm and organization about this trip. My own children participate in Music in the Parks in another district. I fully support it. I don't want to make this about that. And if your medical staff are not Beverly School employees, we can talk about this later. I think this is a bigger issue when we're talking about field trips that we would ask or potentially require some of the Beverly Public School nurses to go on. Can I clarify, or can you clarify?
Yes. So past precedent has been, well, I won't say we have never taken a Beverly Public Schools employee from the nursing staff with us. For my time here, 14 trips now, it's usually music parents who are a nurse or a doctor. And then once they come on board with us, we try to keep them around, get them when their kids are freshmen or sophomores. So we just graduated one of our parents, but.
Sure. So I think we can maybe table this discussion, but long and short is that if one is licensed in the state of Massachusetts, that a nursing license is really only valid if you are practicing in the state of Massachusetts. That is not new. Certainly, individuals make individual decisions, and so we'll just leave it at that. But I just want to be clear that we can't ask a Beverly Public School employee to practice as a nurse in another state.
Understood.
Is that helpful?
Mayor, do you have a follow-up?
Maybe. I mean, do you anticipate where these are new licensure requirements? Do you anticipate that the state is in the process of, or the reciprocal relationships with other states will have these short-term allowances that can be applied for?
Sure. So there is something called the Nurse License Compact that Massachusetts is in the process of obtaining, which is a process by which someone who is licensed in a nurse license compact state can work in other states. That application process began last November, and there are some implementation processes, not the least of which is obtaining a process for federal background checks, which is part of the process. So Massachusetts is in the process of becoming part of this Compact Act. We're not yet. Once the processes are in place, an individual would need to change their Massachusetts nursing license to the nursing it's a reapplication process. So I think we're not far, but there should be options. Sure.
Okay.
So again, I don't think that this should stop approval of out-of-state field trips and the significant fundraising that needs to be undertaken. I did not want to not bring it up because it's a challenge that is facing field trips for all Commonwealth schools. And international travel is an entirely different story.
I was going to say, I think our next one's international.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second on the table to approve this trip. I'm going to look around. Were there any additional questions? I had one that Mr. Smith kind of raised in my mind. 23 out of 25 strings participants. Overall, in the music department, do we have a high participation rate? And can you count?
We can speculate based on past participation. I would say it's overall the entire department 2/3 to 3/4
Okay.
of the department that participates. We found in the past few years those who do not travel with us, it tends to be less of a financial concern because we have an overarching ethos of we don't leave anyone behind. We find a way to make it work. We fundraise, we pull that together. But it's more competing interest in other travel opportunities and or commitments back home, whether it be sports or other family events that might take priority.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll be ready to vote. All those in favor of sending our musicians? 7, enjoy your trip and let us know how we can help with your fundraising.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And so our next is a field trip request to Quebec City. And Marissa Lomas is here tonight. A French language, culture, and French Canadian history tour from the application, ordering in French restaurants, greetings, architecture. Really envious of this trip because it's always been a destination that I'd love to attend. So perhaps I'll get a field trip signature from my partner if you need a field trip chaperone.
Thank you. I do have a presentation. Can I put it on the screen?
Would you share it with me quickly? And
Sure.
then that way it'll get into the Zoom.
The way BevCam is broadcasting us, they need to get it through Zoom versus the Apple TV. So it would just take a second.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Thank you for letting me speak to you all tonight. I am Marissa Lomas, the 8th grade French teacher on Team Cabot. My proposal is for a trip in April, during April vacation, to Quebec City in Canada. There we go. If this is approved, this will be my 3rd trip as an employee in the Beverly Public School. So I'm super excited. We went to Montreal last year and Quebec City the year prior. And I'm coming back to Quebec City. It was just the most magical trip. So I think this is just a really great opportunity for my 8th grade French students to be immersed in French culture that's not too far from where we are right now. So these are just some of the things that we will see. Not everything. In the top right, that's Montmorency Falls. It's a huge waterfall. We take the bus there and the kids can walk a bridge. I did not do that last year because I was too scared. It's a beautiful view. And then the Chateau Frontenac, it's actually a hotel. We're not staying there, but it's a landmark that we will see multiple times during the day because we go to the old city and it's down there. The bottom left is a bread oven. We do that toward the end of the trip. The kids get to taste fresh bread from Chez Marie's bread oven. And then the bottom right is La Citadelle. We get a guided tour of that. Lots of history on this trip, lots of culture, and lots of French being spoken. This is the itinerary. It's subject to change only because I want to tweak a couple things on the last day. So if this is approved, I'll just go back to the company and rearrange a couple of the activities, but it will not change the price. So right now we're starting off, let me look at my screen. It takes about 6-ish hours to get there from Beverly via bus. We'll make one stop before the border. Lunch is not included on those travel days, but all the other meals are included. So we'll arrive in Quebec City, meet our tour guide, tour Old Quebec, see the Chateau Frontenac, and then the first dinner is at a crepe restaurant. Day 2, we do a lot of landmarks, some museums. The guided tour of La Citadelle is that day. The aquarium was what I was proposing. You see it twice on there because, again, we're trying to figure out what day it's going to fit in best. And then the Sugar Shack, that is just, if you haven't been there or have never heard of it, it's just so amazing. We sing, we dance, we eat traditional food. The kids get to twist maple sugar in snow and eat it off of a popsicle stick. It's magical. So we're going to do that. And day 3, there's some more, lots of culture, lots of history, more tours. They reenact a battle at the Plains of Abraham. It's really cool. The kids get to also do history while we're there, but in French. And again, the aquarium might be that day or it might be day 2. We're figuring that out. So 3 nights, day 4, we travel home. That's when we go to the bread oven on the way home and arrive back here around 7 p.m. So it's 3 nights and 4 days. So the overall price is $1,165. It's only about $100 more than it was 2 years ago. So I don't feel like it's much of an increase. It includes everything except, like I was mentioning, the lunch and any spending money that the students want to use to buy clothing or whatever souvenirs they want to bring home. It includes tipping for the tour guide, the bus driver, and all of the things that we're going to do there. So, okay. I also chose Canada because it's pretty easy to travel there. Again, I've done this twice, haven't had any issues at the border. Students can bring a passport. If they have it, they do not have to because they're under 16. So some students have one, others don't, and that's okay. As long as they have their certified birth certificate, I keep everything, and as soon as we get to the border, I pass them out, and then I collect them back so nobody loses their important documents, and then we return them to the families once we get back to Beverly. But the border has been pretty seamless, and it's really easy. The birth certificates, they just look at them up on their computer, and we go right through. So they don't have to have a passport. We don't know the hotel until about 90 days prior, and the students always ask me, like, where are we staying? So we usually don't know that until about February. They can choose to room with one other person for an extra cost of $45 a night. I've had a few people the past couple of years do that. That's just individual preference. Otherwise, they're in a room with 3 to 4 students and 2 beds. And c'est fini. That's it. Any questions?
Merci. Ms. Visnick.
I'm interested in what's going to happen with this international travel, and I always, this is like my routine, I always ask about what are we going to do? Are you taking somebody, whether it's a parent or a school-based nurse with you in case we have a student that has some kind of medical emergency? And so given that you've alluded to the fact that now there's some extra bar that we have to get over to be able to practice outside of the country, can one of you speak to that, please?
And I just want to say it was reviewing 18 months of school committee meetings for being selected for this job that I realized these questions would be asked, which is why I wanted to be fully transparent and have Jody here with us.
Sure. And Ms. Visnick, I always appreciate these kinds of questions. So in the situation of international travel, this is an exciting night. I have also done this trip with my family while my son was on a music trip. So I fully support this. I think in situations with international travel, a Beverly public school nurse would not be able to go and practice legally on the trip. So I am happy to talk more about this offline, but I think we would need to look into the travel company that you're using to see what they would offer. Additionally, it would be very helpful for the medical professional to speak the language of the place that you're going.
Right.
So I'm certain we can get around this, but it would just be a little bit of extra work. And I don't know, I just want to make one other comment. I do not know or cannot speak to the fact of whether that would be an additional cost to your trip.
Okay.
Dr.
So were you planning that one of your chaperones would be a medical professional?
I don't have, the only other teacher right now that is willing to go is Andrea West, and she's a 7th grade French teacher. She's not a nurse. I was waiting for it to be approved, and then yes, they do give us an emergency number to call, and the tour guide also has that. I know that's not in place of a nurse, but that is something that this company does offer. So I can definitely inquire about a medical person who does speak French and ask my liaison at Explorica, because I'm sure that this has come up before. I just didn't ask about it because it hadn't been an issue the past couple of years. I did have a parent travel with me 2 years ago due to their child's allergy. So again, they weren't a medical professional, but they came along because their child needed an EpiPen. So it's definitely something that I can look into.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
Thank you. Sounds exciting. Our daughter went 2 years ago. I'm going to just offer some just commentary, not necessarily a question because I know we're at time. It's probably the type of thing where maybe we go back as well. I'm a little concerned about our border and what experiences people may or may not have at the border at this moment. It sounds like if you're a U.S. citizen and can produce documentation to do that, you should presumably be fine. There are instances where that's not been the case.
Right.
And there may be students who are here perfectly legally. They could be exchange students, residents, whomever. And are we essentially going to advise that they not travel? I don't know. So I'm just wondering if there could be some engagement with legal immigration advice about how to safely make sure our students can travel and all return safely, given that we've had a lot of conflicting information about what documentation, if any, is possible if you're not a U.S. citizen, just to make sure that we are being equitable about who can go, but just being safe and being well-informed about how that could go smoothly.
Right, I understand.
Thanks.
We don't have a motion on the table yet, but I don't know if there's more information needed before we have a motion.
I'd like to make that motion. Everybody
To approve the trip?
to approve the trip.
Second. I heard Dr. Silva second. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. So now we officially have a motion to approve the trip. There are more questions. Ms. Visnick?
I would like to offer a friendly amendment that we approve it contingent upon figuring out the nursing thing. Especially if it's gonna add cost, just
Right.
because we don't wanna tell our students it's gonna be X and then say, oh, by the way, it's really gonna be X plus some extra money, because we need to hire somebody through the tour company to pay for a nurse, a
Friendly
French-speaking
amendment.
nurse.
Is Mayor Cahill, are you seconding?
Not necessarily.
No, not necessarily. Is there a second for the friendly amendment? I will second it for the sake of discussion. Are we ready to talk about the friendly amendment?
Please.
Okay, Mayor Cahill.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm not so sure we should be making anything contingent. Look, there's, I just don't believe that anybody involved with the statutory amending of the licensure, with the law that was passed, had any intention of getting in the way of school trips. So I think it's really incumbent upon the people leading the trips, working with the superintendent and Ms. Elder, to make sure that they're able to comply. I worry about making something contingent. What's the language? Do they have to come back, or is there, do we now have to put some additional language that they need to satisfy, and then contingent becomes final approval? Or do we take our vote and put it in the hands of Dr. Cushing and team?
I would echo that sentiment, because we can say, what, and then Dr. Cushing and the leadership will figure out the how.
I'll withdraw.
Okay. I will withdraw on the second there, since we had a discussion. Okay, so our main
Can I
motion
say
is
something
to
less
approve.
weighty?
Sure.
Shea Marie's has this incredible maple butter
Butter,
spread.
I know. It's so good.
Yeah. It's amazing. It goes well on many foods.
It's very delicious, yes.
Can I just ask a quick question? Is the bread included in the
It
price?
is. It's a very big piece of bread, so you
Just wanna make
get
sure.
your money's worth, yes.
I had a quick comment. I actually brought my girls up at Christmas time or around the holidays for the German market, and that was the day the government shut down, and we weren't sure we could get back across the border, even though we all had passports. And so I do share some concerns, and so I would like to make sure that in addition to the medical staffing, nursing coverage, we also are really careful in making sure that this is an equitable opportunity for all of our students, but also a safe opportunity. I crossed the border this summer. It was very easy, but I have done it every year. My family lives in Canada part of the year. I did have one more question about spending money. And I know that it can be a challenge for youngsters to access local currency. Is there an expectation, or can I offer some suggestions about how students can experience Quebec City, have some trinkets to bring home, and have some of that opportunity without having a huge burden on any family with exchange rates or being stuck with, I call it funny money because it's so plasticky, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get into those details, but that would be, I talked to the parents about that. So they recommend about $20 a day for spending money, and that's just a recommendation. And that the students do get Canadian money prior to the trip, just a little bit because it's just easier to use it. And that they use that first so that they're not left with it, like you said. So that's been pretty successful. It's been 2 years now, and you know, there are obviously students that spend more money and students that don't, but typically that $20-ish a day is just a good recommendation for like a snack and anything else they might want to buy. And Apple Pay was fine there. Kids brought their green light cards, I think that's what you call it, or cash. So we didn't have any issues regarding that. I hear you on it being equitable, and I don't have as many fundraising ideas as the prior trip, but there is a personal fundraising page on every student's Explorica page once they sign up, so they can use that and get their own price reduced versus if we fundraise, everyone's price gets reduced, but it's not by much. So it's better for them to fundraise individually through the website once they sign up.
Okay, thank you for that. I think one of my children did some of the Explorica, and yeah, the group fundraising is a little confusing and the individual is helpful. My last comment is you could go to the aquarium both times because it's amazing. So.
Yes, I've heard that. Yes, and it's definitely on the agenda. I just want to switch a couple of things up from 2 years ago.
Okay, is there anyone else that has a comment? We have a motion from Ms. Robinson, seconded by Dr. Silva, to send our, it's 7th and 8th graders?
Just 8th grade.
Just 8th graders, okay. Just 8th graders to Quebec City during April vacation. All those in favor? Bon voyage.
Merci.
I believe, Dr. Cushing, that's the end of your agenda.
That it is.
Okay, and now the chair is bringing forward some items. I would like to entertain that we take up the resolution conversation before we do policy work, if that's all right. General consensus at the table? Okay, so we laid on the table earlier this evening a resolution that Ms. Visnick had brought forward entitled A Resolution to Identify and Support Struggling Learners and Students with Disabilities. And we've had an opportunity to listen to some stakeholders and constituents that were speaking about some aspects of this. How would the committee like to proceed? Looking around the table. Ms. Robinson.
I would like to see us work in concert with CPAC members, our special educators, us and administration to create, like to revise, to improve the resolution. But I also want to make sure that we do need the outside audit. I mentioned that in my own comments, but I don't want to wait for like any action to take place before, like, I don't think we should wait to make things happen until the outside audit is complete, because that will take too long.
Okay. Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
So thank you for bringing it back around. I think moving the agenda items got a little confusing for me as to what we were going to talk about. I think we had a motion earlier about bringing it back to a committee of the whole so that we could potentially look at the language. But I think one of the challenges which we saw tonight is that our meetings are really not designed for discussion and collaborating in this space. But we know that there are stakeholders, some of which we heard from tonight, who may have some light to shine on where we can get information to inform what the different concerns are that are coming out. I think also another point of clarity is what our role is as a school committee. So these concerns are coming to the district. We know we have district leadership that, certainly can access data and begin these conversations. So I agree that we shouldn't necessarily wait for an RFP or that kind of formality. I feel like these concerns being brought forward are going to be taken under advisement. So I think there is something we can say, maybe perhaps to encourage our district leadership to do what they can to help us better understand the situation in terms of collecting information, working with CPAC, et cetera. So I think my earlier point was there are ways we could collaborate outside of this setting where we can get more information to put teeth to what the concerns are. And of course, just like with a paper, if we proofread our own work, we may miss things. And so I do see the value of getting some external input as well. But I do think we can take up some of that work. I just think our meeting is not the best discussion and collaboration forum. And so however that could happen outside of this, that could be essentially organized with our district leadership, I think that would be really helpful.
Okay. Our earlier motion that passed was to lay it on the table, but if you would like to make a motion that we table it to a future committee of the whole or to create a ad hoc subcommittee, or there's lots of different options. You just tell the chair what motion. Oh, and Dr. Cushing might want to weigh in before.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
You beat me to it. My recommendation was going to be to create a subcommittee that might be able to move with greater speed and alacrity. I know that there were a lot of comments tonight around special education, but this resolution, the way Member Visnick framed it, and that not just myself, but the whole leadership team worked on it, was to really drill down and identify the help for all struggling learners. And so I appreciate Dr. Silver, and I apologize for not speaking to it earlier, because I don't have the breadth of knowledge on BevConnects, all right? But we would be able to bring people to speak to that, and I will be completely transparent that didn't even enter in my thinking when Member Visnick sent this to us to look at. So I apologize for that blind spot. But as you'll find as you work with me, I admit where I need to work, and the best way to do this, I think, might be a subcommittee that meets in advance of the next meeting, which I know may be difficult to schedule, but hopefully we would be able to bring together those interested parties to realize that we have. I also want to make sure that everyone knows too that we have both district and school leaders who are working really hard to address these issues. It's not, and so I want to make sure that their work is also understood and valued, with also understanding the challenges that people are facing. And so, really trying to make sure that we recognize and respect some of the amazing educators that we have, while also realizing that we have a real challenge on our future horizon here, or not future horizon, but that we're in the middle of. So my recommendation would be the ad hoc subcommittee to really work on this, and I'll work with our special education leaders and leadership and principals based on the testimony this evening to be able to report back at the next committee of the whole, or to at least inform. One thing that I want to make sure that we don't do is, ready, fire, aim. I want to make sure that we are very deliberate in our actions to make the best steps forward to help resolve any of our challenges.
Thanks, Dr. Mackenzie DeFerenza.
So thank you for adding that. I'm thinking probably about a two-part process. So one of the questions is, are we happy with the current resolution language? And maybe we can look to our future joint body to talk about the language. The other piece, I believe, is separate and different and more sustained, which is an ad hoc subcommittee on special education that I think would need to meet multiple times. And we would have to give some thought as to, again, how do we capture the hard work that's already been done, like our equity audit that looks at some aspects of that, even if we know that DESE may not necessarily have done the type of work that we think is sufficient to come to a conclusion. Could we include that data? Can we include whatever can inform what we're doing? And I think that will take even just that first subcommittee meeting to establish what information do we have, who needs to be there. We heard from CPAC. As a school committee, we all couldn't participate because we would establish a quorum. So we'd have to think about, well, who's doing that? And then does that come back to CISL? Does that come back to the larger body? So I just think some thought as to what the subcommittee would like to do in terms of content, data, and structure would be helpful. So I would offer that maybe one of the things that happens in that resolution is that maybe we articulate the creation of this ad hoc subcommittee to do some of the longer processing of some of the things we're talking about, just as a suggestion. But I don't know that we need to decide that tonight, but I would say that having a meeting of a subcommittee before the next meeting might be helpful, but I don't think that would be a sufficient amount of meetings to really collaborate outside of this space.
I would like to offer just some points of information to the committee, since I have spent an unusual amount of time with our contractual language, and I would just suggest, I have the latest draft, and I'm still waiting on our friends at the BTA to say, yes, we can print this version. I'm going to share that draft to the committee, and I will highlight sections of our already existing subcommittees, committees that belong with the superintendent, just to make sure we're clear on the different committees that already meet and already exist. And I think for this ad hoc committee, I think we might be looking at a very limited scope because there are some of those other committees that already exist within our district.
Yeah, agreed. I think just doing a clear, intentional capture of what we already have is part of the challenge that we need to do outside of this meeting. And to your point, there's already good work happening. I just don't know that we're necessarily triaging all that information together. So I appreciate the effort and knowing that we do have some other things in play.
Okay, so I will take an action item to make sure the latest draft of our collective bargaining agreements that outline the different working groups is more broadly available with all 7 of us members. Dr. Cushing, do you have a specific mission for an ad hoc committee? If we were to make a motion to form a committee, would you suggest it be related to this resolution and be bound to this for this moment in time while we get better acquainted with the other things that are already going on in the district?
I would say yes, and that it is focused on how quickly can we get the language of this resolution to a place where, people don't feel the word perception, I apologize for missing that in the proofreading or however it was, but that was not the intent, but intent doesn't sanitize the impact that people felt by that. So I want to be clear on that as well. I would say the subcommittee has to initially focus on the wording of the resolution and wordsmithing to move that forward as quickly as possible so that other work can continue as well, while we also start processes as a leadership team in the district.
The chair will entertain a motion if a member wishes to make it to have an ad hoc subcommittee responsible for wording on the resolution to represent it to the committee of the whole.
So moved. Mr. Mayor has a question, though.
Second.
Motion and a second in your question.
Are we here tonight going to create an ad hoc subcommittee? Because if we are we just?
The chair can do that really fast. You're on it and no, I'm just kidding. The policy does say that the chair would select, but I think we're looking for volunteers. And they can't be on the same subcommittee already, so that kind of,
I get it, but
Yeah.
we would be putting to paper what different stakeholders need to be represented in it, as opposed to if we didn't create an ad hoc subcommittee, we said to the superintendent.
we can delegate. Yeah, we can delegate to
Said
the superintendent.
you
Yeah,
put a team together.
yeah, with,
Less formal.
with no more than 2 members of the school committee who don't happen to be on a standing committee.
Right.
Yeah, so that, I mean, yeah, that's the question. Is this an ad hoc subcommittee of the school committee? If not, we would simply ask the superintendent to create a superintendent's,
A working.
a working committee,
that-
yes.
Based on, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're right. The policy, like, we can only have a school committee subcommittee, and if it's more effectual to have the superintendent lead an ad hoc committee and appoint no more than 2 members, that can happen too.
And we obviously had stakeholder representation speaking tonight from multiple stakeholder groups, and I would imagine you'd want to be inclusive of stakeholders that want to be in the conversation. So I'd be for
So maybe, Ms.
asking the
Visnick, and
superintendent to do so.
do we want to withdraw the motion for it to be a school committee subcommittee and to ask the superintendent to form said committee?
This is like, the phone a friend, that
Yeah, I'm
TV
like,
show.
what's more
like,
efficient?
Well, you know the policies too, so the policy is if we form it here, the chair has responsibility for soliciting volunteers and constructing it, and then we post it as a meeting. If the superintendent does it, so long as it's not more than 2 of us and we're not on the same standing committees, y'all can meet.
Right. I feel I want to say something that I say fairly frequently. It is never my intent to give other people more work. And so I did not bring this resolution forward to give other people more work. I felt that it was going to be a clean, like, let's go scope what it would cost to get a third-party, quote-unquote, auditor, just like we did with the equity audit, and then find our tangible items for improvement. So I do feel in this moment that it would be best if Dr. Cushing took this over. I'm trying to hide from him, glaring perhaps over across
give
the
him more
table.
work.
Okay, so
Yeah,
wanna-
but with this explanation that it was not my intent to put something on paper. I already asked for some of your time. I already asked for some of your administrators' time. And now it feels like you're getting this put in your lap. And so I'm quote unquote sorry, but not sorry, right? I feel very strongly that this needs to happen. So if that is in fact what our body thinks is the best path forward, I'm more than happy to bequeath my project to him. So what I made a motion earlier.
Yeah,
I
withdraw.
withdraw my motion.
And Dr. McKenzie, you also withdraw.
Sorry, my interest was more so in a subcommittee. I mean, who leads it is less of my worry. I don't imagine that the composition is going to be dramatically different. I guess it'll be who actually has to execute this. So I'm more than happy to have the district leadership do that. But I think 2 things. The resolution is important, yes, but I think what I'm hearing and what we're hearing and we're understanding is that the inclusion of our educators and our stakeholders is critical. So even if we hadn't asked about an RFP process, I think we would be skipping an important step by going directly to an RFP process. So I don't think there was really going to be a way to adequately get input without having some kind of internal stakeholder collaborative process. So I'm putting myself out there to say, I mean, you're saying we have to volunteer, like I'm happy to help with that, but I don't think it's a step we were going to be able to skip anyway, because what we're hearing is we need to have more internal dialogue. And so I think that we'll try our best not to make this an intense aspect of a new thing to do, but I don't know that it wasn't something that needed to happen anyway. So I appreciate the resolution just helping us think through what the best way to approach this would be.
So I think I hear what you're saying, that you've just now made a motion to direct the superintendent to form
Ma'am, so
an
I'd
ad
like to
hoc
make a
committee.
motion to direct Dr. Cushing to lead us in creating a subcommittee for
With-
looking at our special education challenges.
With school committee membership not to exceed 2.
Yes, with school committee membership not to exceed 2 and 2 members who are not on standing committees together, which President Abel will help you make sure you know who that is.
Yep. There's a few combos that work.
And I guess if anyone has interest, please be sure to reach out.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Robbins? Oh. Is that a yes? Okay, Ms. Robbins. Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Do we have more discussion? Is the motion clear? It is a motion to direct the superintendent to create an ad hoc committee with no more than 2 members that won't violate the standing committee membership quorums. All those in favor? 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Cushing. Thank you, committee. Going back up an agenda item, our policies for this evening are for the second reading, and I thank Ms. Bergeron immensely for helping keep us organized. For the tobacco products on school premises, being prohibited. I should make sure that word, it's kind of awkward that that's the last word of the title, but I did find cross-references to our policy manual that I would like to encourage the committee to adopt. Now in this second reading, they are our drug-free workplace policy, our tobacco use on property by staff members prohibited, and our student policy, alcohol, tobacco, and drug use by students prohibited. I would say that this overarching policy, ADC, is meant to represent all visitors to our campuses, but I think the specificity in the staff and the student policies are a good cross-reference to add at this time. I will make that motion to approve with the edits.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill. Is there any comments or concerns? All those in favor of adopting the policy with the cross-reference? 7-0. Thank you. Our energy-saving lights are going to start making this room get interesting. Okay, for the next policy, which is actually our suspension of policies, there were no edits. This is our second reading. We can vote to mark it as reviewed, and this is pretty straightforward.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza. Any comments or questions? All those in favor of marking as reviewed? 7-0. Thank you. Okay, next, BHC is also for a second reading tonight, and the track changes are marked. These are based on some changes that MASC had suggested. Also, our policy manual does try to be consistent with school committee throughout. This is related to school committee staff communications. And so we're getting a second reading tonight. Is there a motion in favor of passing it with the red lines as marked and suggested by MASC?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick.
Second.
Oh, I heard Ms. Robinson first because I was reading her lips. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about the additions?
Ms. Abel.
Yes, Ms. Visnick.
I think this is one of the, for everybody watching at home, I know we have a huge following. This is one of the policies that really came to light during the strike that teachers wanted us to sit in their classrooms. They wanted us to talk to them. And so I just want to bring this policy to people's attention. In particular, the fact that communications from the school committee or any of its subcommittees to principals, supervisors, teachers, or other staff need to be submitted through the superintendent. That is the quote-unquote pecking order. That is what we are statutorily called to do. So, yeah, I just want to shout that out while we're in the review of this particular policy.
Right, and the addition that MASC has suggested, just for those playing at home or who don't have the packet in front of them, is the addition of staff members are also reminded that committee meetings are public meetings. As such, they provide an excellent opportunity to observe firsthand the committee's deliberations on problems or staff concerns. The other addition is accept those matters that are outside the committee's legal authority. I think that is the other pertinent addition that MASC has recommended we adopt. Okay, any further comments? Dr. Silva.
It looks like there's a correction on the or staff concerns. It's written on problems of staff concerns.
Oh, or, that might be a typo.
Okay.
I'm going to have a friendly amendment that the F be an R.
I just noticed it because you said that.
I said the thing that wasn't written. Thank you. All those in favor of adopting with these additions and correction? Thank you. 7-0. 9:55 p.m. And then, I guess we have two more. These are sort of related and actually probably timely. BIA is the new school committee member orientation policy. In this case, there were no suggested edits, just a slight difference with MASC because the chair is also called the president in this district.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to mark as reviewed.
I'm sorry, yes, to mark as
Okay.
reviewed.
All those any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, and related BIBA, school committee conferences, conventions, and workshops. Again, there are no suggested edits other than highlighting the fact the slight difference in Beverly's choice to include school before the word committee. Motion to approve or to mark as reviewed.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza. Any comments? All those in favor? Ms. Bergeron, I'll work with you to make sure these are marked as reviewed as of today and/or get the changes that we've just approved. Okay. Wow. I've written a lot of notes tonight. Our next meeting on September 24th, we have a finance and facility at 6:15 p.m. here in this room. And then we will have a committee of the whole at 7:30 p.m. Again, that's Wednesday, September 24th. I will jump ahead just a little bit to foreshadow that the negotiating subcommittee will also need to meet relatively soon. Before I get there, let's ask our standing committee chair for finance and facilities to report out from your last meeting, if possible.
The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities is yet to meet this school year. However, Ms. Puglisi and I have been talking about the agenda, and we expect to address, at least at some level, at least at some cursory level, how we plan to try to begin the budget process earlier this year to address some of the concerns we heard last year.
Thank you. And Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza, curriculum instruction readout.
Thank you. I will try to be concise. So we did meet today for CISL, and we reviewed the results of our 5-week ELA intervention that 80 of our students participated in, and there seemed to be generally a great amount of growth that occurred. I did ask about how many families were invited in terms of numbers of students, and it was around 90, so I would say the return was very good considering, and it was also 5 weeks over the summer. Second, we talked about our Playful strategies, professional development, which Principal Montevecchi taught, and also heard from some Hannah teachers who had a positive experience with that, and there will be continued sessions this fall. There was the summer leadership retreat for our district leaders. We also looked at professional development that was offered by Landmark over the summer, and we also heard from our new Assistant Superintendent Brown about how for our future meetings, we will have the opportunity to weigh in on potential topics that we'll be covering along with our mandated areas that we have to cover per DESE. We did have some new students and one returning student, so that was incredibly wonderful to see. Finally, Dr. Cushing talked to us about the new competencies determination process that will be unfolding per DESE now that we have new graduation requirements. And so there is a tight timeline which we will be hearing more about. These competencies are due to DESE by December 31st, but the school committee, currently the plan is to have it to us by October 31 to review. So this is a tight turnaround, and we will be hearing more about that in future meetings. But that is something that's new and on the plate for Dr. Cushing that will be hopefully helpful with moving that along.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And I
you.
offer my apologies to you since the tobacco was technically from CISL, but I took the action item at our last meeting to find those cross-references. Okay. Sure. So as I mentioned, the negotiating subcommittee will need to find a time to meet. And the AFSCME units have a new group that's interested, so we'll be entering into negotiations, and the paperwork has been filed with the Department of Labor Relations. So I will check calendars. Our current subcommittee for negotiations is comprised of Mayor Cahill and Ms. Visnick. I will reach out with some calendar dates and some suggested times that work for both our leadership, our attorneys, and for the AFSCME unit there. Policy subcommittee.
The policy subcommittee is waiting with bated breath for direction from the administration. We have no MASC directives at this time. Rather, we're, thanks to Donna, cycling through the policies per our policy on policy review. And we do need to update, Ms. Bergeron, we need to pull out some of the policies that are on a different schedule, because most of our policies are on the 5-year schedule. But what I'm waiting on from Dr. Cushing is 2 or 3 that need to be on a 2-year schedule. So we should take our main document and make it into 2 different sections. I'll probably do that and then give you an updated document.
Go ahead,
So
Dr.
just
Cushing.
waiting on legal for one of those in particular, but should have that resolved hopefully in the next week so that we can have new forms, updated policy to you for full review.
Thank you for that. And lastly, on our agenda this evening is an opportunity for school committee members to bring communications from our community and from our interactions to the table. Are there any communications that need to be brought to the table? Ms. Visnick.
I just want to ask that maybe at our next meeting, we put on the agenda a revisitation of the fact that our PTO meetings are ongoing. And I attended one PTO meeting this week, and I think the PTOs do appreciate the opportunity. That's another way that we can get feedback from our constituents. But I think it requires a little bit of a rededication on our part to say who's going, who has children where, or who lives in what ward, and coordination on behalf of our group. And I think we've been really good about that in the past. I think last year brought us many challenges. So I would like us to try to think about that as we start into this year.
I will think about how to phrase that as an agenda item. I also was at a PTO meeting on Monday evening, and I missed my usual AIRS PTO meeting tonight since their schedule conflicted with ours. Also, as one of our speakers addressed, I had attended CPAC meetings. I know other members have attended CPAC meetings. Getting a coordinated calendar that we all have visibility to, I think, is super important, because I know every evening I have about 3 or 4 things I want to be at, right? And so we need to prioritize and respect that We all can't go to the same meetings and participate in a way that would violate the open meeting, but we want to make sure we have coverage. So I will put that onto our committee of the whole so we can have a discussion and a plan.
Thanks.
Are there other members that want to bring to the table communications?
Motion to adjourn.
To say, we did send the protocols around for signing, and just for those playing at home, protocols do say that when we do receive communications, we have our CEO right over there that will be a recipient for those as appropriate. I'll entertain that motion, Ms. Visnick,
Thank you.
and I will provide it second. All those in favor of leaving our building before the lights go out? 7-0. Thank you, everyone that stuck with us this evening. Really appreciate it, and thank you, BevCam.